Okay, good evening. I'd like to call this City Council, Community Redevelopment Agency and Finance Authority meeting to order. Today is October 4th, and it's 6:35. I will defer to our City Attorney for report on closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Council met in closed session and discussed items A and B. Direction was given, no reportable action was taken. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lyon. Okay, call to the order in attendance. I believe everybody's here. Thank you. Councilman Bill Hodge, will you please lead us on the pledge of allegiance?
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Ready to begin?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, let's go and approve of the agenda.
So moved.
Second. We have a second. We have a motion. We have a second. Let's call for the vote. Okay, motion carried. Announce public comments. Note, public comments are welcome. A speaker will be limited to 3 minutes. Please complete a speaker form prior to the start of the meeting. If the item you wish to comment on is a closed session item, please comment now. If the item you wish to comment on is on the public portion of the agenda, we'll take your comments when we get to the item on the agenda. Okay. We have the first request by Jim New Year. Please, will you come to the podium? Come forward to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I wanted to report on a project that we've been working on for some time. Mayor Castro and the police department, we're working on a program that we're going to call Don't Block the Box. If you travel around California, most places in California you go to, we don't block the intersections when we're at a red light. But unfortunately, through the years, the need to be able to get cars quickly into Mexico, and when we have traffic controllers present, we have a tendency to fill those intersections in order to be able to keep traffic moving when we're controlling it. The problem is when we're not controlling it, those same cars fill up the intersection, and we have the gridlock that we do on Imperial Avenue. So we've been working with Caltrans. Caltrans has told us that they've ordered the signs. And under California Vehicle Code, there is a code that once the signs are in place, we will be working on this program to keep the intersections clear on Imperial Avenue. Now, you're thinking, well, what does that do for us? Well, one is that we want to educate the people. We're going to start a massive education media blitz, flyers, television, stuff like that, in order to be able to educate the public that we have this do not block the box, meaning the intersection, program going. And that we expect people to fill in just like normal in other cities. So our expectation out of this whole thing is that in the future, obviously it'll take less resources in order to be able to manage the traffic on Imperial Avenue. So as Caltrans gets the signs in place and we begin the program, we'll come back and report to you again, Mr. Mayor. But that's where we are right now. We've already kicked off the program with them. So we'll be coming back to you with more information later.
Okay, sounds great.
Okay.
Sounds great. Thank you, Chief New Year. And we have the second request from Oscar Gonzalez. Is related to one of the items of the agenda, Mr. Gonzalez? No? Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and members of the council. After soul searching, I have to make a wrong or right, and I want to, at this time, I'd like to apologize to Mr. John Moreno for making disparaging and also inflating something I shouldn't have done in public. Marisa asked me who, it was my conscience and my ex-wife and children. They heard about it and they said, Dad, you're not supposed to behave like that in public. I'm very sorry, Mr. Moreno. I want to apologize. And also to the council and to Mr. Romero for calling you Danny Boy. I'm very sorry. And I want to apologize also to Mr. Finley. I don't know where Mr. Finley is, for saying, I think it was that evening also that I said he was uneducated and he was earning too much money. I found out different, that he has a lot of years of experience and he has a lot of certificates. And as a standard, as a personnel affirmative action officer for the county for many years, I forgot to consider that. Perhaps I'm getting old. But I was also criticized, especially by Cali, Servin, and the chief. I heard the chief, Lieutenant Gerardo, and the same thing that same evening because of the way I behaved. So I want to apologize to Mr. Finley and his family and his friends. In conclusion, I know that I'm not perfect, and I never intend to be, but I make mistakes, and I made a tremendous mistake on both accounts, and I'm very sorry to both of you. Perdónenme. Gracias.
Mr. Gonzalez, your apology is accepted. It takes a big man to admit he's made a mistake, and it takes even a bigger man to admit it in public. So, bury the hatchet. Learned many years ago by one of my football coaches, never hold a grudge, and never hold a grudge against you, sir. Coach Al Gutierrez. God bless you, sir.
Same here, Mr. Gonzalez. Thank you.
Okay, next item, general comments by the city council members. Oh, no, I skipped one item. We have we'll begin now with presentations, and we have a presentation by Senator Juan Vargas from the 40th Senate District in honoring Maria Navarro as tour.
Mr. Vargas is running a little late. Could you push it to later?
Okay, sounds great. No problem. I'm going to skip that. Okay, presentation. The next presentation is presentation by Heffernan Healthcare District to the Community Service Department Senior Program. Please, will you come to the podium?
Good evening. I'm Rosie Fernandez, chairperson for Heffernan District Healthcare District, and it's an honor to be here again this year. And we are here, and Gloria Grijalva, also a board member. We're here to present the Calexico Wellness of $25,000. Thank you.
I want to thank the Heffernan Memorial Healthcare District. This is the second year they provide this funding, and last year we were able to reach about 10,000 seniors with the $25,000 they gave us. So we're planning to continue the job that we started last year, and this year we're adding the Dianza Hotel seniors to our services. Thank you.
Senator?
Yes.
Senator, can you please share what you do with the in the program for the seniors?
We have a health and wellness program that includes exercise, mental activities, and social activities that help them stay agile. So we have aerobics, we have arts and crafts, we have crochet, we have bingo. They love to play bingo. We have health classes like how to live with diabetes, or the importance of drinking water, or how to deal with death. Lots of topics, how to avoid tobacco, things like that, that we work with different agencies to help them learn to live a healthier lifestyle. We also do celebrations like a Thanksgiving luncheon and a Valentine's dance, and we celebrate important occasions because many seniors don't have family who live close by, and in order to give them a nice positive activity to share with other seniors, we help them celebrate. So we do all kinds of things to help them mentally, socially, and physically.
Thank you, Sandra. And also, I would like to congratulate Jefferna Memorial Hospital for being support that this community, and also for the activities and the program that you guys help the city. Thank you. There's anyone from the newspaper? Thank you. Do you want to speak? Do you want to say something? There's anyone from the newspaper? Oh, Chelsea. There you go. Yeah, let me take a picture with them. Can you take a picture?
Remember, Chelsea, this is a positive thing, so let's put it in the paper.
Sandra.
Danny, go in there. You're part of the Heffernan, go in there. Mr. Castro, I urge Mr. Romero to also join the picture.
No quería.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. Take one more. 1, 2, 3. Big smile.
One more.
There's one eyes closed. One more. Right? Ready? 1, 2, 3. Great. Thank you very much.
Okay. Okay, our next. John. Okay, next item is title report by Financial Advisory Committee representatives.
Good evening, council members, members of the public. My name is Carlton Hargrave. I'm the chairman of the Financial Advisory Subcommittee. And we have a brief report here for the council as to what the committee has been doing. We meet, not regularly, but we have been meeting. And we have taken up the issue of the business license fees in the city of Calexico. Over the last year, there has been a tremendous amount of concern about the business license fees in the city of Calexico from the business community. And some of the council members have asked us to take up that issue and look into it. And that's one of the major things that the Financial Advisory Subcommittee has been doing. Just briefly, some of our findings, and as an overview, is one of the findings is that the business license ordinance was here in Calexico was adopted in 1957, and it was amended in 1975, and that was the last amendment of our business license ordinance. There have not been any amendments in the business license ordinance since 1975, a 1957 ordinance. So that's one of the things that we have been looking at. The issue of the business licenses came to the forefront in 2009 when fees, to the mind of most of the businesses, immeasurably jumped from prior years. And there was a great deal of confusion about this increase in the business license fee. What we have found as a committee is that the business license fee did not go up at all. What happened in 2009 is that there was an implementation of a user fee that was facilitated by the Maxima study, and the city had made a decision to have the user fee paid along with the business license fee, and therefore it gave the impression that the business license fee was being increased. But in fact, the business license fee was not being increased. It was a user fee that was attached to and being paid at the same time. So one of the things that we have looked at as the user fee, and as we were looking at that, we found that the Economic Commission, the Economic Development Commission had taken on that charge, so we've sort of backed away from that user fee issue, and that's being addressed by the Economic Development Commission. But at any rate, that's a kind of an overview of what the Financial Advisory Subcommittee has been working on to date. What we are going to do is to continue to work on this, and we will come back to the council in the future as to our recommendations as to where we feel the council should be going in reference to the business license fee. There's issues of late fee collection. There's issues of businesses operating without paying their business licenses. So what we have found is that there's a tremendous amount of issues attached to the business license fee that we will be coming back to the council with recommendations on. So that's my report for the evening.
Okay, thank you, sir. You know what, you're right, and thank you for bringing that item, and we need to work on that. I hope I know that the other colleagues, the city council members, they concerned about that, and we need to work on that. I hope for the next council meeting, we are going to bring that item so we can discuss and work on that.
I'm not sure it can be resolved that fast, but we'll do it as fast as possible.
But it's good to start. So thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Hargrave. And the committee.
Okay. Next item, status report by Economic Development Commission. It's okay. Mr. Benny Horton.
City Council, distinguished members of the Calexico, in reference to your Economic Development Commission, we have been working on several items. The main one we've been working on is the impact fees and developer fees. We have prepared a report that explains that we're still going on the developing part. We're also inquiring from all the cities in the valley and outside of the valley to get some information to base our final report on. The other things we have worked on is the consumer affairs, which we've been working with the Chamber of Commerce on that part. And we have that part ready to go. We're just needing to have our next meeting in order to finalize the final part on that part. And one of the things that I feel very dear to my heart is that we're working on awards for the businesses here in Calexico. I think sometimes in reference to the business license and other factors, they're sometimes overlooked. We're going to celebrate our businesses and show what they mean to us. And it's not going to be just one business when we do celebrate. If you're doing the right stuff, we're going to celebrate you, and we're going to call the award the Stature Awards. And I think that'll give something to say what Calexico is about. And I feel that Calexico is going to set the standards for the rest of the valley, and it'll be something that we can be proud of. Is there any questions so far? In reference to the impact reports, I can go in more in detail if you wish to.
There's any question from the councilman? No?
A couple of findings that stand out?
Well, in reference to the reports, when they were working on the report, you had the nexus and the maximum studies that was put forth in order to decide what the fees are going to be about. What we're trying to do is be very fair to both the developers and the city in general. We're trying to get the report put together where we give our findings and our suggestions to refine it. It'll be something that you can refer to and have your reference point. Now, this report has already been filed with the city. It's what we put together. Each one of you have access to it. It's here for you to look at, and it gives some information how it was prepared and what went into the study. And if I can say one thing, we have to show development in our city. If you get stagnated in the development of your city, you know what's going to happen to the city. And I feel this part, tying in with the schools and everything, we want a future for our children. I feel that our children should be able to learn in the city, leave and get maybe a higher education, and come back to the city in reference to things they can do. And I'm hoping that we can put together a report to give the growth of the city and help it to grow in a positive form, both complimenting the city and also complimenting the developers that want to come into the city. I'm very adamant about that part. Any other questions? Mr. Castro?
Any more comments? I'm sorry, I didn't get that last part because Nick, he stopped by and gave me some information.
Thank God for Nick.
No, I apologize, but will you repeat the question, please?
If I can just say my last part is that we have put a lot of effort into putting this study together. We were tasked by the city council in order to study this and to bring back the finding. It's not something that we're taking lightly. It's something we're taking very seriously, and we're trying to get all the information so when we do bring it back, it'll be something firm. Everything that the Economic Commission is doing is supposed to benefit the city. And Mr. Hodge.
Throughout this study, are we learning what we can do to improve upon incentives and listening to potential developers and business people as to, in a very fair manner for both sides, how we can open up the doors and open them and welcome them more to bring business in?
Well, if I can expand on that part, one of the things that we're looking to do is to look at the fees and both fees, and also to put together a study that would be very positive to what Calexico is about. Calexico is a unique city, and it's right next to the border. That's what gives it the uniqueness. And if we don't, let's say, grab hold of this, we stand a chance to losing out. Let's say Calexico, I know it's a different factor, but Calexico is about the same age as Mexicali. And we can have, if not more, of a growth. Calexico has the potential to be the largest city at the next census in the valley. But how do we get that growth? We have to look at what we're doing in the city and put forth the effort to develop it, positive developer. And everything has issues. We all have issues. But the idea is to look at the issues and make your weak points into your strength. And that's the key.
The fees are extremely important, but I guess just to say it bluntly or crudely in a way, I want to learn or know what it takes for them to be very interested in bringing business in here. What would be the conditions? You know, what do you want? You know, what do you want in a fair way that would really entice you to come here and not go to El Centro or any other city, you see? And once we know what's in their head, and I know every business is different, and I'm not an expert on this, then we can work from that condition.
Well,
does that make sense, what I'm saying?
If I can interject something in there, it's a multiple of many factors that plays into it. And if I was a developer, and that means commercial and residential, there's certain factors I'm going to look at in a city. One of the main factors is schools. What do the schools offer? What does the city offer in amenities? How good are the services? Do they provide the services that can help my business to grow in order to become a more positive part? Because, you know, if I'm looking at moving into Calexico, what benefits am I going to get out of Calexico? What benefits will I get from, let's say, El Centro or some of the other cities in the valley? But you know, I have one point. We can work together as one throughout the valley, and everybody would benefit. We have a lot of great cities in the valley. Working together, and then also working together with Mexicali, we can generate a very atmosphere that would be very congenial to any business to develop here. And that's one of the factors that the members of the Economic Commission is working toward. When I got into this commission, it was a very stagnated commission. Today, it's a very positive and a very, let's say, it's a commission that's moving forward for the benefit of Calexico, for Calexico. Question, Mr.
Mr. Horton, I want to echo some of the things Mr. Councilman Hodges mentioned. This plan that you've put together, has it been worked in collaboration? You mentioned growth, you mentioned development, with any other commission within the city of Calexico. But my point is that the Planning Commission is an integral part of land use, of the general plan. Has this been shared, perhaps, maybe in a workshop with the Planning Commission to get their input?
We do plan, and this is my thought and the rest of the commissioners, we do plan to go to all the commissions and to explain, but we don't want to go with them with a draft. Well, once we get everything put together, before we bring it to the council, we will go to all the commissions and let them have input too. Then we're going to bring it to the council as a whole and let you, I guess, ratify it, if you ratify it or adjust it, because you have the final say. We work at the pleasure of the council here.
Well, I applaud you for this concerted effort to making this an economic boost, much needed in the community in this time. So keep up the good work, and I'd like to see the finished product soon.
You will see it very, very soon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Horton.
Yes, sir.
You have a question? 2 years difference, Calexico and Mexicali. You see the population in Mexicali. I've said this before during a council meeting. Mexicali has an organization, the Mexicali Development Commission, that without a doubt, if you go visit with them, this commission, to capture some of the ideas how they promote Mexicali, it goes to show how successful they have been. Mexicali has been thirsty for the city of Calexico to have a similar focus in what they have tried to do for years to come, for years. If there is something, I can assure you that if you do visit with them, they'll give you their opinions and suggestions. So in any future endeavors that Mexicali has to promote Mexicali, it could begin introducing the city of Calexico as well. Right now, obviously, we cannot compete with Tijuana and San Diego, but there's no reason why we shouldn't start for the city of Calexico to work strongly with Mexicali. It hasn't always been the case. Now, I'll bring it up again. November 2009, the position of the economic development specialist was removed. It was brought back to council, and we approved for 2 persons. What the city needs, besides the endeavors that your commission puts together, is somebody that day in and day out can continue to push and promote the city of Calexico for economic development. As these ideas of what it will take to sell Calexico, one of them, besides the valley, is Mexicali. And not only for retail, but I'm talking about for industrial as well.
Okay.
So I'm in that trade, and I have been around a lot of people from the Mexicali side who have commented this thing over and over again throughout the years. So your efforts to do this, I applaud you and your commission, and wish you success. Obviously, success with your commission will bring success to the city. Thank you.
Okay, if I can expand what you said, we do have a letter ready to go to deliver to Mexicali in person. None of this email or anything. Before we do, we have to present it to the city council to approve it, to personally go to Mexicali, but we do have the plans to do this. Not just a one-time deal. This is going to be an ongoing process. It's not something you just jump into and say, yeah, we did it. You have to develop the relationship. You have to develop the interplay. You have to see what the needs are in Calexico and what the needs are in Mexicali. Mexicali has certain needs that we can help Mexicali with. And I had a meeting about 2 months ago on my own with the president or the mayor of Mexicali. It was just a little social event, but I did bring it up. Now, we can move forward and move forward in a very positive and intelligent mode. But yet, in everything that we do, we want the council to be aware of it. We're not no long ranger. You people give us the authority. We work at your pleasure. And I do not want to ever forget that.
Take into consideration that the director of the Mexicali Development Commission, Alfredo Garcia, has years of experience at his position. The one who's serving right now as the president of the Mexicali Commission, if I'm not mistaken, is Manuel Rubio, promoter of industrial park promoter. So there's a lot of experience, years of experience and success. Those would be two excellent persons to go talk to and maybe help you take off with this thing.
And I'll say this for you. By what you said, by next council meeting, this council meeting, I will have met with those gentlemen and have a report for the council. I give you my word on that part, okay?
Thank you.
Any other questions?
May I interject? I was going to wait to the very end, but I think that this is appropriate because what we're discussing. But if you recall, a month or so, I did make a future agenda proposal that we brainstorm and find ways we can begin with these two commissions, but on a broader level, to build permanent, consistent relationships with Mexicali in many ways. I don't have all the details or specifics, but I feel we're not connected enough, and there's so much potential there. So what you're bringing up is very important, but I think it can, that's a beginning point or fixture, but it can be expanded upon. I mean, even to the point where I've heard we're a good idea where they come here and give us reports, or we have workshops or meetings, we go over there, and so forth. Building economic ties. What can they do for us, and what can we do for them?
Mr. Horton, just one question. Mr. Hargrave mentioned that your commission would be reviewing the user fees for the business licenses. Would that be included in the report that you're going to be presenting to us soon?
Yes.
Because, of course, we have the concern that the new year is right around the corner. And so would that be also?
I'm working toward this. By next meeting, I got a lot on my plate now, but by next meeting, you should have a report in a binder that you can review in a timely manner. And we may be able to make a decision and move forward, because you're right, the new year is coming forth, and a lot of businesses would like to see some progress. I think we say a lot, but now to put our performance into action and make that.
Appreciate your hard work.
Okay.
Regarding the commission, I will be receiving an email for a upcoming meeting. I don't know if it's going to be this month, November, December. They have it every 3 months. I'll make sure that your commission receives it.
Let's say we'll work around. I'll work my schedule around their schedule, and we'll make it a priority.
Thank you, Mr. Horton.
Thank you, everybody.
Okay, the next item, we have a presentation by Senator Juan Vargas, 40th Senator District, in honoring Maria Navarro as October Citizen of the Month. Yes, I want to welcome Senator, and I'm very pleased to have you here in our community to giving recognition to one of our many citizens of this city. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Yes. Any, either left or right.
I usually go to the left.
Oh, really? Oh, no.
But today I'll go to the right.
That is your left.
That's right.
When you were standing over.
That is true. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the opportunity to be here on behalf of the California State Senate, here to present the October Citizen of the Month, Maria Navarro. Now, these are very difficult times, as you know, and no one knows this more than you here at the local level, where there are so many issues that have been challenged. And that's why it's always a wonderful thing to be able to come and congratulate someone and say, job well done, bien hecho. A really good job on behalf of Maria Navarro. Now, she's a homegrown person here, as you know. She went to and attended Valley College here, Imperial Valley College. Then she went to San Diego State, and then she taught at Our Lady of Guadalupe. And now she is a 6th grade teacher at Cesar Chavez Elementary. Now where? Kinder now? Ah. She's already doing great things. See, she's changing all the time. I appreciate it. And in particular, she also oversees 100 students with academic progress in after-school program called the After School Education and Safety. And we appreciate that very much. As you know, there's been many, many cuts from the state, and there have been unfortunate cuts that have been had to make because of the budget. And so when people step forward like you and help our kids achieve so much, it really is something that I think we should take time to say thank you and to present you with this California State Senate Citizen of the Month Award, this certificate of recognition. If you wouldn't mind, Mr. Mayor, if she could come up here and I could present that to her with you. And to thank you again for all the work that you've done on behalf of the state of California. I'm here and with Mr. Mayor, if he doesn't mind, to present this proclamation to you. Thank you. I think with permission of the mayor and the council, would it be okay if Maria could say a word or two? Thank you very much. And again,
Yes,
thank you for allowing me to be here. I appreciate it. Would you like to say it?
Well, this is a great honor. Es un honor enorme recibir un reconocimiento por nuestro senador Juan Vargas. Thank you, Senator Juan Vargas. I would like to thank Senator Juan Vargas for honoring me as his October Citizen of the Month. I would also like to thank the City Council, the City Manager, Mr. Mayor, Mr. Attorney. Thank you so much for all this. A special thanks for my family, mi familia, mis amistades, my friends, who are with me at all times, for their love and their wisdom. And to my new friends that came from far away, thank you also. In conclusion, I would like to say great thanks to Mario Conde. Mario, where are you? There you are. Mario, and to Mr. Ben Horton also for making this special occasion be a reality. Finally, I would like to tell my son, who's been here, is like, Mom, I want to leave, I already want to leave. But in the morning when he woke up, he's like, Mom, can I go free dressed to school? I'm like, no. But Mom, today's a special day. I'm like, oh my goodness, I forgot to buy him some clothes for today. So, Eric, you are my life. Okay, and thank you so much for your love. To my students, that they are my motivation and my vehicle to continue to teach with such passion. There's no other thing in life that I would like to do but to teach. From 6th grade to kinder to 6th, it's been wonderful. Every child is an honor to be able to teach them, and parents, thank you so much also for your support. To my mother and father who are no longer with us, but that I know from where they may be, I know that they're very proud of me, que mis padres están muy orgullosos de donde ellos estén. they're always in my heart, siempre están en mi corazón. And thank you to all again, and to all of you, and to God. Thank you so much.
And again, thank you, Senator, for being here and supporting that so many outstanding citizens. And I hope it's not going to be the first or the last time we see. Okay?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. You have the best citizens here, too, let me tell you, the whole state.
Thank you.
God bless you. Thank you.
Okay. We're going to stop for a little while. Into recess. Okay, next item, we have a proclamation in memorializing Margarita de Necochea. And will you please, Bill Hush, can you read the proclamation, please? Councilman Bill Hush?
Yes, sir. We're going to present this.
I believe, Senator, can you receive this proclamation from the family? Yes, okay.
Just right here. All right, thank you. I'll read it from here. Whereas the passing of Margarita de Necochea, on February 12, 2011, has brought immense sorrow and loss to people throughout the community. And whereas the Calexico City Council believes that it is important that we honor and acknowledge those people who compassionately contribute to the betterment of our community, and whereas Mrs. de Necochea served her community by being a member of the Calexico Library Board, Calexico Historic Commission, various city committees and civic organizations, whereas Mrs. de Necochea was distinguished Calexico resident who devoted herself to promoting the continued education of our community, whereas her passion and zeal for life and the city of Calexico earned her the respect and admiration of her family, friends, and community, and whereas Mrs. de Necochea was a role model and mentor to numerous generations of Calexicans, serving as an example of community involvement and civic leadership, whereas her graceful demeanor inspired others to conduct themselves in city business with greater dignity and respect for one another, and whereas her common sense approach, her perseverance in the face of challenges, made her an advocate for others in the community who approached her with their community concerns and suggestions, and whereas the City Council believes that future generations can learn much from the past, and Mrs. de Necochea was instrumental in preserving much of Calexico's history, and whereas Mrs. de Necochea achieved her vision of providing everyone with accessibility to the tools that open the doors of opportunity by her involvement in the Camarena Memorial Library and the preservation of the Carnegie Library via its conversion into the Carnegie Technology Center. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Calexico hereby expresses its deepest sympathy at the passing of Margarita de Necochea, and by this proclamation memorializes her for a lifetime of service to the City of Calexico and its constituents.
I was asked by the family to read this statement. The children of Margarita de Necochea greatly appreciate tonight's proclamation in her honor. Unfortunately, we are not able to attend. We request that Sandra Toller, Community Services Director, be allowed to speak on our behalf in regards to our 2 libraries and our mother. Sandra was a dear friend to our mother for over 20 years. Our mother served for many years as president of the Camarena Library Board of Trustees. She was an active board member for over 20 years. She was very instrumental in preserving and saving the historic Carnegie Library, and she had the political clout in Sacramento to lobby for the city to receive a state grant for its restoration. She also spearheaded the application process to have the Carnegie Library building receive the prestigious designation as a National Historic Landmark. Last month, we attended the Carnegie Library Technology Center's fundraiser, which was very impressive. The restoration of this historic building is beautiful. More important were the current technology programs and classes that are being provided to the community members, especially to the youth of Calexico. The youth of Calexico, especially our low-income children, rely heavily on our local libraries to use working computers with internet access, to ask library staff for help with research, to finish assignments, and to submit their work electronically. We also have many adults who need to use computers to look for jobs. This is what our mother supported and advocated for. In closing, libraries are not bookshelves. They are community centers that provide our residents with learning resources of many kinds. We urge you to keep supporting both the Camarena and Carnegie Libraries in memory of our mother. Our mother had a vision for knowing that technology is the future. We urge you to share her vision for the future of our youth. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have another request from Daniel Chaires. Will you please come to the podium?
Good evening, Council, and everyone here present. My name is Daniel Chaires, 930 Rockwood Avenue. As you know, I have a business down in located in the downtown area of El Centro, and I decided to put together a debate for the running candidates for the city of El Centro. I'm here just to invite all of you here to be present, as well as the people who are here, in public. I would like to have one of you city council members to be part of the panel for the debate that we'll be having for the upcoming candidates for the city council of El Centro. I would like to have some of you guys in there and share and know all the ideas that they were thinking about doing for the downtown area of El Centro. Maybe that will inspire you to do something great in downtown Calexico. So I'm here just to invite you all, and to invite you all, everyone here who's present. And that's pretty much it.
When is it?
It's going to be October 27th at 6 p.m. I'll bring flyers. We're already advertising it. Spectrum will be there. IB Press will be there. Power 98 will be there. KXO will be there.
That's a Thursday, right?
It falls on a Thursday.
I can be there.
Great. Thank you, John. I'll appreciate that. Anybody else? Council members? All right. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chaires. Okay. Now we have general comments by city council members. I'm going to start to my left. Mr. Bilhash, do you have any comments?
Yes, sir. Seems to be an important issue today we're focusing on is that economic development. So I would like the Economic Development Commission and the bid to take the lead in possibly researching or brainstorming economic, social ideas on how to generate city revenue by bringing, supposedly, you know more of the history here, back the snowbirds to Calexico. Let's bring them in here. Let's welcome them. Let's have them come in, and hopefully we know that they can generate some revenue for us. So I throw that idea out to the economic development and bid in collaboration in that effort. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Bilhash, Councilman Bilhash. Mr. Moreno, Councilman John Moreno, do you have comments?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Castro. First of all, thank you, Mr. Rodriguez, for that excellent weekly report. Looks like we've got some good news there. Hopefully, maybe in the future, we can share that with some of the public. If not now, sometime soon. I know a lot of the confidential information, but I want to say it's on a positive note. So thank you very much for that. Also, I'd like to remind our citizens that This week is Beetlefest week. The Chamber of Commerce is working hard to promote a tribute to one of the very famous artists of our time, John Lennon. And I look forward to the concert on Saturday on the friendly confines of Rodney Auditorium. This is a great cultural event for our community, one of many that the City of Calexico sponsors. I'd also like to thank staff and city administration for the beautiful ceremony yesterday honoring these chambers under the name of Fernando Nene Torres, who was a political activist and had many roles in the community. They say that God builds a country, but people like him build towns. And so I just want to thank the city staff for honoring him. It was a wonderful ceremony. And I look forward to my colleagues who went to the California League of Cities in San Francisco. I eagerly await their report on some of the things that they learned, some of the things that they accomplished with their visit to this conference. It always, I couldn't make it, and I know Mr. Hodge couldn't make it. We had other commitments, but it would be great if we could hear some of the things that they did over there and some of the things that they learned. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councilwoman Maritza Hurtado, do you have comments?
Yes, to report that the 21st of September, which was a Wednesday through Friday, the 23rd of September, we did attend the League of California Cities Conference, annual conference in San Francisco. Myself, Mayor Pro Tem Romero, Mayor Luis Castro, and City Manager Oscar Rodriguez were able to attend. Of course, this was a long 3 days of a lot of information, a lot of networking with other cities, made new friends, connected with old friends. But most importantly, we went to learn a lot of information. Obviously, a lot of the cities in the city of California are going through financial constraints, just like the city of Calexico. And so many of the workshops were designed to help out with ideas and help cities to think outside of the box. And one thing that stuck with me was something very interesting that the members that were there with me, we talked a lot about that, is that in times of financial difficulties, a city or even a business, I thought about it for my own business, and it's very true, is to always to ensure to keep training your staff, and that the valuable assets that you do have are your staff, and that training is one of the most important things in these times, is to never stop learning. So I did bring away that with me, and many other innovative ideas and information that only in these types of conferences you can receive. So I'm very grateful that we had the opportunity. It was a great opportunity to go to San Francisco, and hadn't been there in a long time, and get lost at the wharf. But that gives an opportunity to get to know downtown San Francisco, which was really nice, but at the same time in the company of my fellow members, and that we were able to learn all that new information together. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilwoman Maritza Hurtado. Mayor Pro Tem Daniel Romero, do you have comments?
Yes, one of the things in regards to the sessions that we attended, they are not only, in a sense, educational to bring in ideas to implement that would be new to any city, but also helps in with this financial crisis and how to share the services within the departments, the different departments. In fact, not only just the different departments, but even sharing resources with different agencies. The whole aspect of this thing is, of this League of California Cities, is to, there's an opportunity to listen what the other cities are going through, also through their through the General Assembly. Discussions were made on some of the resolutions that were passed or discussed. Some were defeated. In fact, two that really had nothing to do with city business, even though the cities were seeking support from the League of California Cities, they were defeated. Why? It had nothing to do with city business. It was just some of the cities trying to expand their I don't know, political clout to see if something could be done. One of the resolutions that was defeated was in some form of recognition of what was going on at the city of Bell, where everybody that knows Bell was paying tremendous salaries to its council members, its some of its staff members, and they wanted to give some kind of appreciation to the persons that were involved in trying to make it right. The basic arguments during that defeat of the resolution, because it was defeated, is that, wait a minute, the members that are there as far as city council or staff are supposed to work everything right. So there was no, their intent was to throw some kind of kudos, but there was no kudos to be given as far as statewide level. There was another issue that was defeated where something about the bullying of children at schools. Again, it was an issue that there was just too much government going to be played out, and they prefer that the school districts handle their own situations, their own issues of kids being bullied. There was some members there that they acknowledged that they were once in school and they were bullied and they were trying to press this thing to go to the state level for some form of further law-making situations with the senators or the assemblymen, but it was not pushed along, just saying too much government, let school districts take care of their own. This is the second time that, as far as for myself, that I have been to this convention. I believe, yes. Councilwoman Hurtado and Mayor Castro were there last year as well. Next year it's coming back to San Diego. Hopefully the council members that are present at that time will attend it. It's not only informational, it's educational, but it's something, this is the one opportunity that the city has that unites with the other cities of California to move forward in whatever special issues are there for any one city. If there's something that the city needs in the form of a resolution to be passed by the League of California Cities to move forward with the state, this is where we could get a lot of support, that we need some form of support from the state. City has a lot of needs, just like any other city in the state of California. But this is something where now we can rally the other cities to support the city of Calexico for some measure of support if this council so desires from the state. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Pro Tem Romero. And well, I concur with my colleagues, Maritza, Councilwoman Maritza Hurtado, and Mayor Pro Tem Romero. We had good sessions, lot of information, and I don't want to repeat any of the session, but the good thing we are here, we are back, so we need to work hard and also practice what we learn up there. So that's it. Thank you.
I have a question.
You have a question?
Just a simple question. Was there any conferences on either RDA or perhaps gaming that may have been something, gaming like casinos?
There was no
talk about RDA.
RDA, okay.
No.
Okay, thank you.
Obviously, because
It's in the courts. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Mayor,
Yes.
if I may, I just wanted to add a comment, and more from my perspective as administration, is that I would like to thank the council members who did attend. It's always important from the standpoint that that council members begin to understand how complex of an organization it is that you are supposed to be running. It's a very complex organization, and in my 30-plus years in local government, I don't recall the last time that I walked every single exhibit booth. But a particular council person made me walk every single one of them. So, but I think from the perspective that council members begin to realize the complexity of the organization that they are held responsible for, I think in administration it makes us a little, it makes it a little easier for us, for you to understand what we are trying to administer. As we walk through each exhibit booth, it's just interesting, and I'm sure each council member can tell you that, or council person can tell you that you walk from one booth where you're dealing with something regarding the sewer plant and piping on the sewer plant and how to deal with pipes that break and so on, to all of a sudden the next booth where you're dealing with police services and trying to make sure we keep up with the latest technology, to the next booth where you're trying to figure out how to collect debts that are owed to the city, and on and on and on. And I think that, if anything, even for myself, after 30 plus years, it's an eye-opening to realize that we run a corporation that's probably $70 to $80 million, and we have 10 to 12 different divisions, and they're all different. Water plant is different, the sewer plant is different, the police department, the fire department, you name it. I mean, it's a very complex organization that you're entrusted with running by the citizens of this community. So again, my hat's off to all of you. I hope that next year when it's in San Diego that all of you can attend, because I think it's always important and an eye-opener to all of us, including myself, that we learn something new and we learn to deal with our colleagues and share information with our colleagues, because we're all in the same boat. And certainly during these times of economic trials, it is very important that we keep that relationship and we build on it. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may.
Yes.
I want to add, I'm glad you mentioned the exhibitors. I had them as a note to mention it. The different services are out there. In fact, there was even a for the meters, for the parking meters. There's a device there that will even take pesos with a mix of the U.S. currency and credit card and debit cards. So I'm going to be expecting emails to come in from the different services or the different exhibitors that were there, and be assured that city manager that will be forwarded along to see if there's anything that we can implement here for the city of Calexico. Thank you.
Piggybacking on that, using debit cards on the parking meters.
Yes.
I know a lot of our merchants downtown don't allow the use of debit cards or credit cards, and maybe that's something that we also need to look at, because that may be cutting into the business of our sales tax revenue and also the business that they may want to generate. So that's something also to think about. Thank you, Mr. Romero, for bringing that up.
Any more comments on that? No? Okay, the next item is consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to pull item number 6.
6, John. What about Mr. Bilhush? Do you want to pull one item from the consent agenda?
Number 2.
Number 2. Bilhush. Okay.
And I will
Mayor Pro Tem?
pull number 4.
Number 4.
If there's no one else going to pull any items, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to approve.
Let me ask.
Okay.
Maritza, are you okay? Okay. So we have 2, 5, and 6 to pull, right?
No, Mr. Mayor, I'd like to
2, 4,
approve
6.
1, 3, 5, 7, 8.
1, Moreno. 3,
5, 7, and 8, correct. That's your motion, right?
That is, yes, I move to approve those consent calendar items.
I'll second that.
Okay, let me clarify that. Okay, you want to pull, can you repeat that, please?
No, I'm sorry, I want to approve
Approve, not pull.
1, 3, 5, 7, 8.
1, 3,
5,
5,
7, 8.
7, and 8.
And that we pulled 2, 4, and 6.
Okay, let me check that, please. So we have, okay, I'd like to pull number 5. Luis?
Okay.
You already pulled that, right?
No. So I'll rescind my motion, Mr. Mayor, and motion to approve 1, 3, 7, and 8.
1, 3, 7, and 8. Okay.
Okay, and I'll second that
We have
change.
we have a motion. We have a second. Let's call for the vote. Okay. Motion carried, 5-0. Now we're going to start with
5-0?
number 2. Yes.
You said no. Up there it's no, but it's 5-0.
No, did I? It
was red.
Red or?
It was red.
Okay.
But
I made a mistake.
Who was red?
Who was red? Me?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, motion carry. I support your motion. Okay?
That's fine.
I don't want to go back. Okay, Mr. Bill Hush, item number 2. I believe you pulled that one, right?
Yes, sir. I read the backup, but I'm going to be humble about this. This is new to me, this kind of area, so I'd like just a little more elaboration on what this all means. Anybody can address that?
I won't want to double up since you are the director. I'll let you handle it.
Daniel Fitzgerald, manager for the Calexico Imperial County Enterprise Zone. An enterprise zone, when it's granted its designation, by statute is allowed 15% of expansion territory. So, for example, if an enterprise zone is 1,000 acres, you're granted expansion of 150 acres. The enterprise zone for Calexico and Imperial County, the enterprise zone, was originally just under 15,000 acres. It included 100% of the city of Calexico, 100% of the gateway to the Americas, and kind of all land in between, and then some surrounding unincorporated county area. For example, all the way up to Fawcett Road, just south of Heber, up to Heber Road, running up along Highway 111, etc. And so that's why hence it's called Calexico Imperial County Enterprise Zone. And so from time to time, businesses may come in and request that the enterprise zone be expanded to include their particular area, that business. For example, the enterprise zone has undergone the process, and it has been approved at the administrative level by the state, to include, for example, the Ormat plants that are off of Dogwood Road there in Heber, and then the Ore Mesa facilities that are off of Interstate 8. And those were approved already by the City Council, Board of Supervisors, and have gone to the state level, and those have also been approved. So that's something that, of history that we did. They applied for that, of course, to take advantage of the enterprise zone tax credits and the like. Recently, there has been a change in ownership of the Barbara Worth Resort. A company called Imperial Palms LLC has taken ownership of that. They recently closed escrow on that, and that matter had been taken up. With that, they applied for the expansion of that, brought that to my attention. I brought it to the board of the Enterprise Zone, which is the Joint Powers Authority, of which 2 members from the City of Calexico sit on, 2 members from the County of Imperial, and 1 IID board of directors. And they met all the needs, the requirements for that, and that was approved by the Joint Powers Authority. And so the next step is that there's a resolution to be approved by the governing bodies of both of those. So this morning this resolution was approved by the County Board of Supervisors, and tonight it is brought to your attention. Basically, they're requesting an expansion of approximately just around 100 acres. It includes all the business area, the commercial area for the Barbara Worth, the golf resort, the hotel, the convention center, the restaurant, the bar, etc. And this will allow them to be able to place additional investment back into that property, to be able to hire additional people, to be able to basically bring the Barbara Worth back and really be able to have it be a facility for our region and really be able to show it. And of course, this is an unincorporated county area. It's part of the County Imperial. It's under their tax base, and of course, they're a participating member of the JPA. We can't expand anything in the City of Calexico because the entire City of Calexico is an enterprise zone. And so this is just following the standard procedure for it and allowing, as statute says, up to 15% can be expanded, and it's to be able to meet the goals of the enterprise zone, which is job expansion and hiring, as well as capital reinvestment into the community.
I'm happy that the Barbara Worth will be coming back and people are getting jobs, but again, is there a direct benefit to Calexico?
Well, it's a direct benefit to the Calexico and the County Enterprise Zone, which is a joint venture between the two. And the two of them together said, we are going to meet certain goals to provide economic growth for the County of Imperial and the City of Calexico. And that was the application that was submitted to the state back in 2006. And this helps meet those goals for the Enterprise Zone. So the City of Calexico obviously keeps its enterprise zone designations, is meeting those goals. And then obviously I am without a doubt that there will be people hired from the City of Calexico.
Thank you.
There any more comment from the council? Moreno?
No. Yeah.
No?
So I'll make a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Second. But we're under discussion? Okay. Can you pass to the podium?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name's Oscar Gonzalez, native Bulldog. I'm in support of this resolution, and it's a way of welcoming Mr. Kevin Smith. He lives in Holtville. I met him about 2 years ago through Mr. Menville, and I worked for him as a consultant when Mr. Carrillo was here, and I found him to be trustworthy. And I think when Mr. Hodge was talking about what benefit, initially I had the same reservations, you know. On the other hand, when you look at the benefits, the jobs, and hopefully Mr. Smith will give preference to people from Calexico, and certainly students graduating or, you know, working in the summertime, I think he would be amenable to that. So I'm, as a public, 47 years experience from 8th grade, government, college, and what have you, living in Santa Barbara, Modesto, Fresno, and here, I think this is an economic project. And in conclusion, being a member of the Calexico Community Action Council, treasurer from 1975 for 15 years, we, in a small part myself, was instrumental in writing a lot of the grants for CCAC going to Washington for economic development and jobs. And I think it's the least we can do for Mr. Kevin Smith. So thank you very much.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Let's call for the vote. Mira, se cambia. Se cambia, se cambia. Ahí está. Okay, motion carry 5-0. Okay, next item is number 6. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem Romero.
Yes, item number 4. I didn't, for one, thank you, City Manager and Mr. Finley, for putting this thing together. I did not want it to go under the radar. Can you just please make it more public on what this item is for and what it's going to accomplish?
Okay.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Nick Finley, General Services Director. Basically, this is our part of our 5-year pavement management plan. This is our 5th year. This will be the rehab. It's a street overlay program that we have that we've been implemented for the last few years. So we brought this before you as to the next streets that will be improved. We will be improving Grant Street from Highway 111 to Cloak. So we'll be overlaying that whole street on that west side of town. We will be overlaying Rancho Frontera Avenue, and that'll be from Highway 98 to Cole Road. So it'll be that whole section of town, that whole section of Rancho Frontera that needs attention. We'll also be overlaying First Street from Pollen Avenue east to Andrade. We will be also overlaying Rockwood Avenue from Central Main Canal south to Campillo Avenue. We will be overlaying Cole Road from Highway 111 east just past ML King. So that street will all be completed. We'll be doing some work over on Robinson Avenue in the industrial area to complete that. We'll also be overlaying Enterprise over in the Portico Industrial Park and also Portico Avenue. So that's part of our 5-year plan for this year. And the estimated cost, engineering cost for this project is $1.5 million, which is being funded by Measure D, which all our residents voted for and passed for the next 40 years. This is part of your gas tax money.
Now, this is for the authorization for advertisement for the RFP.
Correct.
When will this RFP close?
If you approve it tomorrow, it'll get advertised, and we have 40 days of advertisement. So you figure by mid-September, mid-November, on your second meeting in November, I should be coming back with you with the award of bid.
And how soon after that the council approves the bids?
They have 30 days to start, and they have 90 days to complete the project as soon as they are awarded the notice to proceed.
Okay, so we're looking at the improvements possibly beginning sometime between December and January and ending around March or April.
Correct. And that's about the right time of year for it, because this type of overlay requires that the nighttime temperatures drop so the material will cure properly. That's why it's not done during the summertime, because the temperature doesn't drop far enough for it to cure.
Yeah, the only comment on that is that we'll probably be trying to time it so that we stay out of the holiday shopping season, so we don't create a lot of problems for shoppers who want them to come in. So we'll probably be starting in the beginning of the year.
It'll be more like 1st of January.
Thank you very much. Excellent news.
Also, Mr. Finley.
Very much needed.
If I may, could you tell us a little, you say here in the last sentence of your background information that the General Services Department is going to be working on the next plan?
Correct.
Can you tell us a little bit about that too?
Okay, what I'm doing now currently is, the city manager wanted us to hire a consultant to help us put a 5-year plan together as to evaluating the streets. I've been doing it for the last 10 years. He thought it'd be a good idea to bring in a consultant as so they can help us put that plan together. So whichever his direction that he will be giving me, that's how we will be going forth. So,
we'll need to put together another 5-year plan, and on this particular plan, and we've been saying this for a while, and I'm hoping that anytime soon we're going to get an award on our planning grant, which will fund that consultant and then be able to document objectively what streets should be done under certain criteria. Mr. Finley will certainly be a key element in it because he has a lot of experience. So we will be identifying that criteria that we'll be using to prioritize the streets within the city, and then that will be brought back to you.
And is there a part of the plan that would include days with inclement weather and how we clear the streets of tumbleweeds and palm tree debris, like today?
That's normally depends on a day-to-day basis.
It's on a day-to-day.
Expect
But, I mean, there is a plan that will address that. Like, for example,
that's something that once our crew knows that once we have a strong wind like we did, they know that the first thing they are to do that morning is travel the roadways and pick up any debris that is in the road. We all get out there. I do it myself. I'm in my truck. That's why I drive a truck. I throw the stuff in the bag in order to get the roads cleared up as much as possible. And we do take the calls and complaints from the residents as to where the locations are at, and then we try to address those as soon as possible.
Thank you very much, Mr. Finley.
Okay, Mr. Finley, you said you've worked on 2 5-year plans?
Yes, sir.
Just curious, how close do you come to completing all the goals or objectives within each 5-year plans?
We get about 70%, depending on we always have more streets on there in case we are able to obtain additional funding. But normally on those 5-year plans, we're meeting about 70% as to what we allocate for the 5 years.
Within the 5-year plan, is there a timeline?
What we try and do is we try and commit anywhere from $1.5 million to $2 million a year, and so it depends on the quantity of streets, the square footage, and the linear feet as to what we can do per year. Some streets are a little longer than the others, so that way we have to do them in phases.
Thank you.
And what I try and do, just to give you an explanation, I try and address the west side of town, north side of town, east side of town, central part of town, so every area is taken care of. That way we don't get complaints from the residents on the west saying, why are you just doing at the east, or the east complaining about the north. I try and spread it out as much as possible.
Keep us together.
Just for additional information, and I don't know where you were headed with that question, but maybe I can give you a little more information, and that is there's never enough money to cover all of our streets.
Never.
So one of the things that we're looking at this year is, if you recall, the county was here a while back, and they are proposing that maybe we join them in doing a bond issue in order to get money now and be able to take care of our streets today at a lower price than in the future. We are looking at that. Right now, the rates are so low that originally we were thinking maybe it's not the time, maybe we shouldn't really be looking at this. But given the rates being so low, we are seriously consider recommending to you that we use part of that money to bond against and bring in the money today at today's dollars, which are very low, so that we can do more streets today. Because the incremental damage that's done to our streets is tremendous. It's not like a straight line where, every year is a 5% deterioration of the street. If I remember correctly, it's something like every 5 years, if you didn't do maintenance and it jumps up, it dramatically jumps up, then you're doing reconstruction, and then if it jumps up from there, you're doing new streets. And these increments are very, very large. So you want to make sure that you maintain your streets. Otherwise, if you get into the second phase or the third phase, you're talking about a lot of money, and you'll never catch up. So, again, there's never enough money, but it may be a good time right now to talk about taking advantage of the low interest rates out in the market and maybe bringing in some money and doing a little more of our streets than normal.
Never enough money, understaffed. I understand a heavy workload. But let me just take the perspective possibly of the regular citizen. And Councilman Romero Pro Tem, he kept bringing this up. Especially I kept thinking about Cole Road, because that's a rough ride there. How do we address the complaints or concerns of the citizens that say maybe, oh my Lord, it's been year after year and this street is still in bad shape? You need to kind of get in their head and figure out how they're thinking, what's going on? And I know we're all working and doing our best, but they don't understand that. They don't see that unless we are making it a point to communicate to them. And I think it's very important that we ease their concerns or answer their concerns, because all they're saying is, this street has been in bad shape for like 3-4 years. What the heck is going on?
Correct. And normally what we try and do is we try and prioritize the street, especially if it's we call a collector, an artillery. There's different demographics that each street is identified as. So let's say, as an example, for those who live in a cul-de-sac where there may be 10 homes, but yet we have a large boulevard that it's trafficked by thousands of people. Right. Well, common sense tells you we're going to do this street first, and we will get to that street, and that's why we try and include these streets in those areas, and I try and spread it out as much as possible. But due to the fact that the funding is limited, there's only so much I can do, and I try to be as realistic as possible. Sure. and say, hey, well, everybody's going to travel this street in order to get home, or they're going to travel this avenue in order to get that. Those are the ones we look at, and those are the ones we try to address first, but yet we still try and take care of those small areas at the same time. We've done like Rosa Street, we've done Holdridge in some areas that are actually the collector streets for that one area. And so that's what we look at, saying, okay, the subdivision, where does everybody travel through? How do they get in and out? And those are the ones we look at first. And, we keep in mind those small cul-de-sacs, but we try and take care of the other ones first.
Do we do anything to reach out and inform the public what we're doing? Is there anything on the website that could help them understand where we're at and why we might be behind, or where we're focused?
As we get the calls, as we answer them, some people call in and their concerns, and I explain to them, exactly where we're at and where they're at in that phase of the 5-year plan. So we try and tell them, hey, you know what, we'll be getting to you within the next 2 or 3 years, and we explain to them this just takes time. If we had the money, we'd do them all. Okay. And that's one of the things we're talking about, bonding money. Well, we'll be able to take care of a lot of it and maybe catch up, and that way people don't feel left out. So we're looking at alternatives, but you also got to realize some of that Measure D money we keep because it's already committed to the improvements on Cesar Chavez, the improvements done to the EDA grant over in Portico, the improvements there at Van de Graaff. Anytime we get a grant, we always have matching funds, so that's what we commit this money to. So there's other projects that are in the works that we have this money allocated to, so we can't go use it because it's already allocated. And the federal government and the states says, where's the money? Show me the money. They don't want to believe, I'll have it in 3 years. No, they won't approve you until you show them you have the money and it's committed to that. So you can't commit it for anything else.
Thank you, Mr. Finley.
Okay, no more questions?
If none more, I'll motion for its approval.
I believe I called item number 5.
Right, we approved number 4 first.
Okay, Sure.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Okay, motion carry 5-0. Okay, item number 5. Suspend the implementation of Calexico Municipal Code Section 5.80.3220. G, taximeters for a period of 3 years. Okay, now, Chief of Police, can you explain more on detail of this code?
A little history. This is a policy decision by the council. A little history. In 2008, the taxi companies came to the council asking for a raise in rates. If you remember, 2008 was pretty much the beginning of the financial crisis, as well as the skyrocketing gas rates. At that time, we thought it was skyrocketing. Actually, the gas now is more expensive than it was in 2008. One of the conditions that was put on the taxi companies was expecting that in 3 years from 2008, that the economic situation would be better, that we would give you $5 for the rate of the taxi, and in exchange from that, sometime later, you would put in taxi meters. The problem is now the financial situation has not gotten any better. It's just as bad, if not worse, than it was in 2008, because the majority of the taxi business does involve the border. There's less border crossers than before. The gas now is higher than it was in 2008, and basically the business is worse off than it was now, or is now, rather than 2008. So it's my recommendation to the council that we suspend the enforcement of that section requiring the taxi meters until 3 years from now, and then we look at it again at that point.
Okay, Chief. So it took you 10 months to realize that the taxi cab companies are in violation? Because 10? Yes, it is. Why not?
Why are you saying they're
The code required that to be implemented in January of 2011.
Since
2011 or
yes.
January 2012?
2011?
2011.
The code is 20,000 is 2011.
Okay.
So
The actual city
I'm
code.
sorry.
Now, I remember, and this is what kind
says
of
here.
odd, because I remember, and I think you were there when we did it. I thought it was 2012, but somehow in there it's 2011. Because on my notes I had 12, but what got codified and approved by the council evidently was 2011.
So it's been on 2011, Mr. Moreno. So the taxi cab are in violation 10 months, and that's my question to the chief. So it took you 10 months to realize that these guys, the taxi cab company are in violation, and now you want us to suspend this code just because economical crisis, economical situation for the business? That's my point.
Well, I don't know about just because. I mean, that is the situation.
It is, I'm sorry?
I don't mean it. It's not just because. It is the current situation. The economic
It is the current situation. Mr. Chief of Police, do you know how much the taxi cab company charge from the borderline to Rockwood School?
It's the same price everywhere in the city.
How much is it? Do you know?
$5.
$5. So from the border to Rockwood School, it's about a mile. So do you think it's okay? You're talking about fairness. Do you think it's okay they charge $5 for 1 mile to any customer here in the city of Calexico or someone to cross the border? Do you think you're talking about fairness? Is that correct? $5 for a mile?
I don't know. It's set the rate's set by council. It's not. That's not my recommendation.
It's not your recommendation. Your recommendation that to suspend this city code.
The taxi meters.
The taxi meters. Yeah,
but I don't set the.
But you mentioned that we are suffering. Everybody's suffering here in Calexico, and I agree on that. But in this case, we are hurting. We are hurting the citizens of the city of Calexico. Last week, I took a taxi and from the border to the city hall. They charged me $5, so it's less than a mile. So is that okay for people that they don't people that are struggling to pay the taxi? Do you think it's fairness? That's my point.
Again, I can't answer. That's a council policy decision. I do not set the rate.
Mr. Chief, the council policy decision, this tax is being in violation since 10 months ago. I mean, we give them 3 years, and beside that, another 10 months in violation. And you recommend to suspend this city code?
Yes, I do.
You still? So you're talking about, again, you're talking about fairness, and we are hurting the citizens of this city.
Exactly, we're talking about fairness because there has to be an even balance between the service to the citizens as well as to the economic situation that the owners of the cabs are going through too.
I'm sorry, economic situation for who? For the citizens of Calexico or for the owners?
There has to be an even balance between the citizens, the users of the taxis, as well as the business themselves who are providing the service.
I have a question, Mr. Mayor. Madam City Attorney, would it be wise if Mr. Castro, being the proprietor of a transportation company, to be discussing a situation like this? I just want to make sure that we're all on the up and up on this, to protect him and to protect the council.
I'm not aware there's a financial conflict of interest because he will not be required. I don't know that he even owns the bus company anymore. But
Okay.
the bottom line is, if it's not a financial impact to him, then it's not a conflict of
I just
interest.
want to clarify that.
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Moreno. You're welcome.
I need a little bit of help in clarification. So in 2008, then there was an idea to have taxi meters.
Yes.
In order to be controlling and more fair towards, it looks like, the actual consumer, because then a shorter distance trip would be cheaper. Is that correct?
Right.
Right.
Is that what happened back then?
Whether you, like the mayor said, if you come to the border and come to City Hall, it costs you $5, or whether you come here to go to Walmart, it'll cost you the same. I believe that's the point he was trying to make.
But the idea of having the meters installed was to bring down the price, because it's pretty much a mile in circumference no matter where you go in Calexico. So if it's a ride from the border to, let's say, Rockwood School, which is halfway between the border to Walmart, that should be $2.50 instead of $5, let's say. Was that the idea why you wanted to install meters in 2008?
Yes, definitely yes.
Was to bring down the price for the consumer. Is that correct?
Yes, because the people deserve to pay for every mile they use a taxi.
Okay.
That's the people deserve to.
The end result was to possibly bring down some rates.
Yes.
Is that what it was?
May I say something? But
trying to
I'm
understand.
worried about, I don't know enough, so we need to learn, but I'm worried about that maybe bringing in the taxi meters might even cost more. If we have a way to regulate or set it up, then I'm for what Mayor Castro's concern is making it economically feasible and not a burden on our citizens. But let's just think maybe the taxi meters might be more of a cost.
Yeah, it would.
All the way around. I don't know, but it needs to be entertained.
Okay, here we go. Here's an expert.
Yeah, a taximeter would make it more expensive as opposed to the fixed rate that we have now, and only because the way a taximeter works, it's on time and distance. Okay, so like for most of you that have been in big cities, like now that you attended this conference, you know, when you get into a taxi cab, if you notice, there's already a fee as soon as you close the door. That's called a flag drop rate. Okay, that's going nowhere. Then it starts on the time and the distance. So supposing you end up at a stoplight, it's still running. Then you have to get to your distance. So there, it makes it more expensive. And I'll give you an example using Coachella rates. Okay, supposing we had taximeters here. The most common fare here in Calexico from the border is to Walmart. Okay, that's about 2.3 of a mile. Okay, the rates for Coachella are $3.25, the flag drop rate, as soon as you get into the cab, $2.96 per mile, and it's $40 waiting time per hour. So a fare to Walmart would almost cost you $10. Plus, you know, taxi meters aren't cheap. Okay, to have them installed, it has to be somebody that's certified by the state. Plus, the cab companies have to also get certified by the state and carry a license from the state. The police also have to get certified to be able to regulate these. And I assume they're not going to do it for free. You know, there's going to be a fee. And those costs, you know, I mean, the fees are going to have to go up in trying to implement this technology. So by adding taxi meters right now, it would just make the fares more expensive. And yes, you could say, well, that's a benefit to you because you're going to bring in more revenue. But no, because I mean, if you make it that expensive, who's going to want to use the service? Now, it might benefit, you know, Mr. Castro's bus companies because, you know, then his will be more reasonable and the taxi cabs will be more expensive, you know. And it'll be just more cost effective to take the bus than it is to take the taxi.
Who sets the rates?
The city.
So we could control that?
Yes, and it was set at $5 in 2008. And bear in mind that gasoline has gone up since then, and I think it's more than reasonable at this point.
Can we set the rates with the taxi meter? In other words,
sorry?
could we waive the idea of once they get in, they cost them $3.50 to sit down?
You could regulate them, but remember, all fares are going to be different because, as I said, it's based on weight, it's based on time, it's based on distance.
Mr. Ortega, you mentioned something interesting, and that is you go to the big cities where taxi meters are everywhere.
Yeah.
And you mentioned Coachella. Coachella's demographics are very similar to the city of Calexico. However, there's a very rural community where there's a lot of people that live on the outskirts of town. Are there any other cities in the Imperial Valley that use taxi meters?
No, there's not, because...
When would you see, since you're in the business, the need to use a taxi meter in the city of Calexico?
At this point, no time soon. I think that the way it is now, at fixed rates, and the council dictating that every time we approach them for an increase, is the way it should be, because it's more than reasonable. You know, and another example, every time you get into a taxi cab in a big city, what's the first thing you're doing? You're looking at the meter to see how much it's going to be. Every time you get into a taxi cab in a fixed rate city, you're not worried about it because it's going to be what it's going to be.
So the square mileage of Calexico is approximately, I believe it's 4.6 or
approximately
4.6, 4.7, excuse me, or 7 point, is it 7, a little over 7 square miles. So if we were to look at the growth of the city within the next 20 years, maybe that might be something that we would consider. If the city grows, if it doubles in size or maybe triples in size, then it would be time to consider the taxi meter.
Maybe at that point.
So if we're suspending this for 3 years, we'd bring it back in 3 years and take a look at whether the city has grown or not, or if it's a necessity at that point, if the technology price has gone down, many variables.
Yeah, that's what we're asking, and we think that's fair.
Like Mayor Castro, and I'm sure everybody else, we're concerned about the economic burden on our citizens. So I don't know which way is the best way to go. So like Councilman Moreno was saying, this seems like something that needs to be studied or considered more.
Let me, Mr. Gonzalez.
Oscar Gonzalez, you know, I've been in transportation since 1970, PUCs and what have you. Marlene Thomas, when she got a PUC, Mr. Alberto Rico, and other companies in other cities too. And I understand the argument of Mr. Ortega and the taxi cabs. And I understand the chief, but I disagree with the chief. He should have enforced it or brought it to the council ASP, not wait 10 months. Mr. Ortega, I have to correct you for the record. The company is owned by Mr. Castro's son, so he doesn't have a conflict. And let's get rid of that mentality that he has a company. He doesn't have a company anymore. He doesn't have a conflict. I think you have to understand the consumers, my point of view. I'm handicapped. I was getting $1,200 in 2003. I make $800 today. You know, disability has gone down, Social Security. Inflation every year goes 15% per annum. That means $1 every year. $1 last year was 15 cents less. It's 85. And that's been for the last 50, and that's not going to change. If I'm a businessman and I'm selling cookies, and there comes a point where I don't make a profit, I get out of it. Like many businesses in our community have folded. You know, if I get a cab from the border to Mary Street, a few yards, it's $4 or $5. For senior citizens, it's $4. So I think it's not fair. And I think the issue here is what is fair? What does it mean to the consumer? What does it mean to senior citizens? All of us are going to be senior citizens. I am right now. I'm going to be 64 in November next month. What does that mean? We don't have to study anything.
But what's the answer? Which way is the best way to go?
I think we need the taxi meters.
Oh, you do? You think you'll...
Yes, and whether it's more expensive or not, hey, if you can't afford it, let somebody else do the business. And in conclusion, I think you got to look, all of you guys swore that you were going to represent the Constitution and speak in the interest of people. You have to look at this issue, not 20 years from now, whether Coachella. That's irrelevant. You know, so what if Coachella? We got to look at Calexico. It's a border community. Mr. Moreno, historically, his family and Mr. Carrillo and even Hildy, a border community is unique. It's unlike El Centro, Hauteville, Imperial, etc. This is a border community. We have a lot of people that come from the border, and it's a profitable business. And the competition in our capitalistic system fosters competition. We don't have to study the problem. I think in conclusion, we should go to the taxi meters. And if they can't afford it, hey, let somebody else provide. What happened to your dad when Walmart came? He ran out of business. He didn't come to the city for welfare.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, if I may, in Mexicali, I've taken the taxi quite a bit from the border because nowadays with the long waits, instead of doing whatever business you may need to do in Mexicali, instead of taking your car into Mexicali, we can cross the border, take a taxi from the border area to any point within Mexicali, and it's $5. And in the city of Mexicali, I don't believe I've ever seen a taxi meter in their taxis. So I know for a fact, for example, I've gone over to the main area out there, like where the Applebee's is in Mexicali, and a carload in your taxi is $5. So if Mexicali is charging $5 for a taxi load in a longer distance like that, I think we also need to consider that too, that in a smaller town such as Calexico, that we be charging higher rates. It doesn't sound reasonable. I am confused. I don't really understand why we did this in 2008, why we would have considered that for this size town, considering again that such a larger city like Mexicali is at a rate of $5. So I'm just a little confused of why we did that.
Eddie, will you please? Let
Mr. Rodriguez, I'm very concerned on what you're pointing out.
Gonzalez.
But if we can't control the meters, we're not helping the citizens if they get in and it starts off at $3.50. It's going to be a lot more than $5. So this is where I want to guarantee that we can control the rate and it keeps it roughly around $5 or even less. And I like the idea that the senior citizens get a discount.
Yeah, and then remember, we're looking at these companies as if they were like the senior citizen transport that we have here locally that receives money from the state. These companies don't. We're required to carry high insurances and meet various other requirements. They're very costly. So, when you look at fare, for the consumer, please remember that we're not receiving monies from the state or any other entity.
I'm not suggesting that you should charge him $3.50.
He needs to come to the podium.
Tiene que venir acá.
Okay. Ok, Mr. González. Señor López va a hablar.
Buenas noches a todos, audiencia y City Council members. Mi nombre es Juan López, yo soy el dueño de California Cab. Sinceramente yo considero que el meter en un taxi realmente es ridículo aquí en Calexico. De la línea a Walmart, al lado norte de Calexico, que es el punto más lejano, son 2 millas. Si vas hacia el oriente o hacia el poniente de Calexico, es más o menos la misma distancia, a la orilla de la ciudad. Se está cobrando $5. La gente nunca ha manifestado inconformidad en pagar esa cantidad, ni tampoco han reportado que quieran miras en los carros. Lo que haría eso sería encarecer el servicio, hacerlo más caro. Cuando viaja una familia de 5 personas por $5 a cualquier lugar de Calexico. Yo sinceramente no recuerdo quién fue el que propuso eso de las miras en los taxis. Ahora quieren reforzarlo, pero realmente desde un principio fue absurdo esa petición de poner miras en los taxis. Un ejemplo, Mexicali. Mexicali, algunos de los servicios de taxis con teléfono, equipados con teléfono de servicio a domicilio, pusieron miras en los carros. Pero se está hablando de 10, 12, 15 millas. Ahora, las miras tuvieron que hacerlas a un lado. Ahora los choferes cobran por área. Toda la primera área de la ciudad de Mexicali son 35 pesos. Si vas más allá de la avenida Sonora o más al poniente de la avenida 11, sube poquito, pero va en relación a las distancias. ¿Por qué? Porque la gente con el simple hecho de mirar las miras no se subían a los taxis, porque no querían la sorpresa de al llegar a su domicilio encontrarse con una unidad con una cantidad que no iban a poder pagar. Y Mexicali estamos hablando de una ciudad mucho más grande que Calexico. Yo siempre he dicho y lo confirmo, Calexico comparado territorialmente con Mexicali es una colonia de Mexicali. La Baja California, si la mides, es más grande que todo Calexico. Entonces, ¿qué íbamos a hacer con las miras? Se iban a echar a perder, los negocios iban a flaquear y los clientes, que es lo más importante y es lo que hay que cuidar, iban a preferir irse andar 1 milla o 2, que pagar una cantidad sorpresa, que le salieran llegando a su destino. Son $7, $8, $10. Digo, a nadie beneficia. A nadie beneficia y sí iba a perjudicar a todo mundo. Es decisión de ustedes, señores, y ustedes tienen la palabra. Gracias.
Any comments, Mr. Romero? Mayor Pro Tem?
I just want to give my quick opinion on all of this. I take a taxi.
State your name.
Oh, Angel Esparza. I take a taxi about 5 to 10 times a month, and I mean I think it's more than fair, $5. And yeah, it could be $5 to here to City Hall if you think it's a little excessive. You can walk. I mean, it's like a 5-minute walk from the border. Most people. For people with disabilities, I think there's ways that you can get a ride through the government programs and stuff like that. But to the majority of the people, I think $5 is more than fair. You can't really compare it to Mexicali because I bet most people, like the taxis there, they don't have like the insurance or the right regulations, and they're getting paid way less over there than what they should be getting paid here. But I think $5 is way more than fair, and the taxi meters would increase costs dramatically, and it doesn't make sense. Well, I'm not the expert. The expert just talked about it, and he said that
Oscar.
the expert just
Oscar, let him
talked
talk,
about
for
how
God's
it would
sakes.
increase, so I think we should listen to the expert, not just...
Okay, any more comments?
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Angel, do you like the fact that you know right up front that it's only going to be $5?
Yeah, I do, and I mean it's a convenience. If I need to get someplace quick, I can just call them. They're here. They take me, and it's done.
I want the same as we all do, Mr. Gonzalez points out, but I'm not quite sure which way to go, so I say we should suspend this at this time because we need facts. We need more facts. Lots of good points on both sides, but...
I'll second for discussion, if there is any discussion further
Okay.
that needs to be said.
Okay. Do you have
I'm sorry.
any comments?
The motion is to
suspend.
To suspend the issue.
It's to do what the recommendation is from staff, is to suspend the...
For 3 days suspension.
I'm sorry. Suspend the implementation. That was the word I'm looking for.
Oh, that's your motion.
Yes, I didn't make it formal.
I have a question. So, Chief of Police, so rather than enforce the city codes, you want to suspend the codes implementation?
No, that's our choice.
No.
I understand that. But I am recommending this
Because-
as staff. I'm recommending this as a staff member to the council. It's council's ultimate decision of whether you want to suspend it or not.
Let me ask you this. This been in violation since 2 months, since 10 months. They've been in violation, right?
According to the code, you're correct.
Okay, so rather than enforce the city codes, you want to suspend the codes, right? It's more easy for you, I believe, because you recommend that. So instead to apply the codes you recommend to suspend the city code, right? I want to hear from you, man, because you're the chief.
Well, I understand, but I guess I am a little confused in your question.
Okay, again, chief, rather than enforce the city code, you want to suspend the code. Do you understand that?
Yes, that's not the case. I want the
That's not the case?
council to make a policy decision to decide whether they want to enforce the code or
This
not.
policy is being yes, supposedly in January 2011, these taxes are in violation. So again, rather to enforce the city code, you want to suspend this city ordinance. That's my point, because the taxes are being in violation since 10 months ago.
Mr. Mayor, I'll call for the question. If I think we've already asked the question.
Let me.
several
I'm
times.
talking.
That's okay. I can call for the question. I can call for the question.
Okay. Let the chief answer this.
I don't know how to answer it because you're not asking a question that I think I can answer. I'm asking for a clarification of a policy decision as to whether we should enforce this law or not. based
My
on the
question
economic
again,
situation.
Mr. Chief.
I'm going to go with son of a gun. It's an issue of order as far as the meeting is being conducted. There has been a call for the vote. Now, remember, to go for the call for the vote, there has to be a vote to see if we will vote on the issue, on the motion, or if we will resume discussion. That's part of protocol.
Okay.
That's part of policy as far as this council is concerned.
I believe Mr. Moreno.
Mr. Gonzalez,
yes.
when call for the vote is done, the vote has to be taken on the call for the vote. Yes, it does.
Yes.
It's part of policy.
Okay, let me, but someone called for discussion. I believe you, John?
Yes.
You called for discussion?
I seconded Mr. Hodges' motion for discussion, and then there was discussion, and then I called for the question.
So there has to be a
Okay.
vote on the call for the question, just that.
Right.
That's it. So do we resume discussion, or do we go back to, we go to the motion? Mind you, there's going to be two votes here.
Okay, so,
I call for the question. Now, we need a second, right, Mr. Romero?
That is correct.
Okay. Is there, that's why I look...
we have a second for the question.
For the votes.
For the call for the question.
The question means to stop the discussion and go for the vote.
Okay.
I'll second that motion.
All right. So now you vote for the call of the question. This will be, if it passes, then we'll vote on the item. If it doesn't pass, then discussion resumes.
Okay, let's call for the vote,
Okay.
for the discussion, right? Okay,
Nada
motion
más.
carried. Let me finish with this and you can talk, Senor Lopez. Okay, so, again, Chief,
Mayor, if that's the vote, then now it goes to the vote for the agenda item.
I'm sorry?
If that's the vote for 5-0 or 4-1, which was marked a little while ago, that means Councilman Moreno's call for the vote or call for the question has passed. So now the discussion ceases and it goes straight to the vote for the measure, for the item.
Okay, so, okay, motion carry for
Call for the
0,
vote.
for call to the vote.
So now it goes, the item itself, or the motion by Councilman Hodge, and second by Councilman Moreno, now goes to vote.
To the vote.
Okay, and this is the your motion was to suspend this until
Yeah.
it's looked at more, right?
So, I'm sorry, I want to clarify that, to suspend this issue or the,
For a future meeting.
for a future meeting, right?
If that's the motion, I would urge Mr. Hodge to suspend it for a period of 3 years and go with a recommendation by the staff.
Okay, then that's a different motion.
No, I mean,
Was that your original motion, Mr. Hodge?
I want to motion what's in here, the requested action.
Okay.
Oh, you're
Could you please read,
supporting the motion.
Right.
could you please read that?
Read this. Approve the suspension of implementation of Calexico Municipal Code. Let me put my glasses on. 5.80.320. Taxi meters for a period of 3 years, at which time a study can be conducted to determine if the economic situation would allow for the implementation of subsection G.
I'll second.
Okay.
Call.
okay, so
So we vote, right?
Now it's the vote.
we have a motion and by Bill Hodge,
I made that motion
And
and he
second
seconds it.
by-
Yes, sir.
Council Moreno.
So now it's the vote.
Okay, motion carry for all. In, just to clarify, can you read the motion, Erica, please?
Help.
Councilman Hodge to approve the suspension of implementation of Calexico Municipal Code Section 5.80.320G, taxi meters, for a period of 3 years, at which tax tests can be conducted to determine if the economic situation would allow for the implementation of subsection G.
Thank you.
And Mayor Castro, it showed as an abstention on yours. Is it a abstention
Thank you
or
for
a no
correcting me.
vote?
That's the way, I'm sorry. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
No problem. Okay, public hearing,
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor, I had item 6, a couple of questions.
and number 6?
Yeah, that item was pulled out.
Okay, yes,
And-
yes, you pulled that.
Yes, and just real quickly, Mr. City Manager, I've noticed that we have parentheses in a lot of the year-to-date remaining budget balancing, and I understand parentheses in the business world means that we're short, we're negative. Could you possibly expound on that?
Yeah, it's very simple to explain. We don't have the final budget numbers in here yet. So therefore, if you take away that from zero, you'll get a negative number. By the next report, I believe we're going to have the final budget numbers there so that we can take it away from that. And hopefully, in the very near future, you're going to have the final budget.
Okay, so that's just temporary, and
That's
because I looked at it,
that's just what we have spent up to this time.
I looked at it and it was doom and gloom, and I said, we're already in the red.
No, yeah. If you'll notice under the final budget column, there is no numbers in there, so we need to put those numbers in there.
Oh, I see, in the first column.
Right. So you got to have something to take it away from.
Okay.
So no, it's not that bad.
Ándale. Well, thank you for the clarification. I move to approve item 6.
Excuse me, Mayor.
You had a question?
Yes, I have
I'm
a
sorry.
question.
Okay, go ahead.
Is for Chief, Police Chief. On the month of September, on the first period, you spent $16,000 on the first period. In the second period of September, you spent $17,000. So you spend almost $34,000 in overtime in 1 month. Can you explain to us how come you spend so much overtime in 1 month, almost $32,000?
I don't have the exact hours, so no, I can't explain it to you right now.
You can explain that. Okay. But you knew about these numbers, right? You knew. I mean, you're the chief. You're supposed to know what's going on with your staff. You need to regular your staff. And I ask you a simple question.
Yes.
$32,000 in 1 month. I want to know why in this month.
I do not have the actual breakdown of every hour. I don't see anything that's out of the norm, and that's how I judge whether something is being spent correctly or not. And there's no red flags on that month as far as having spent more than we normally would have.
So you say it's not I'm sorry, can you repeat that? It's, it's normal. That means it's normal?
Yes.
So in 1 month, it's $34,000 over time. So you say it's normal. So that's mean in about a year. So for 12 months, it's going to be more than $200,000 over time. Is that normal for you?
Well, you can't work it out that way because each month fluctuates. Some months it may be only $14,000 or $15,000 that are spent, and other months, depending upon what type of city activities there are or what type of call-outs we've had, it all depends every month. That number is not static; it changes every month.
Could this have been possibly 16th of September or other big days or the cool down in our town, or? I
can't tell you because usually what happens is the administrative assistant puts together a report that breaks down where every hour that is spent, and fortunately all I have is the finance director's report, and it doesn't have the backup that I would usually use.
Chief, are the numbers that are being shown here, I'm going to say City Manager Rodriguez, is the police department within budget? And if not, is there an opportunity for them to get back within budget within the next several months?
As you can see, this is a report for basically 3 months. I will be sitting down with the chief to get some of the answers that have been asked, which are legitimate answers, and that is, you cannot trend these based on a trend because not every month is the same. So we have to take a look at what the trend is, what the trend has been in maybe the last couple of years, because that would be my question to the chief, and unfortunately he doesn't have the information with him right now. But I would suspect that there would be a trend in those particular months or the last 2 years, it would be higher. So that would help to evaluate where he's actually at. Now, obviously, if he were to continue the trend of $32,000 a month, he'd be way over. And so there are issues with that we'd have to address. Again, it's very difficult to address those issues because he doesn't have the numbers, but I'll guarantee you that I will be sitting down with him to go over those numbers, because yes, if that was a high month, but yet some of the majority of the other months are at 7,000 or 6,000, then he can stay within budget. But we would need to take a look at the trend in the last 2 years to see if those are high months and why those are high months. Sometimes it's very difficult even to follow trends, even if you look at the numbers for the last 2 years, because it could have been something out of the ordinary. But we should be able to explain that. You know, if all of a sudden we had 5 officers that are not working for X reason, and we have to pull 5 officers in on overtime, well, then obviously that would be a reason why it happened. So it's very difficult to give you an analysis right now without him having his numbers and being able to analyze what those numbers are.
Okay, well, I think what's needed here, because I think we're correct to be concerned, we're all concerned about keeping within the budget, not to have a breakdown hour by hour, that's way too much, but maybe to eliminate a lot of this back and forth questioning, to have more than just these numbers, because when we see these numbers, we start asking, how did these numbers come about, why, and so everything you've just said, would it be possible to
I think
some kind of a description ahead of time? So
sure, and I think if you're asking me and I'm the chief, obviously my answer would be, I'm going to stay within budget, because that's his responsibility. And if he doesn't stay within budget, that's my responsibility to make sure he stays within budget. So, you know, again, how much information do you want? Because then it becomes an issue that maybe then at that point you start managing, and do you really want to get into that?
Well, we're not the experts here, but like Mayor Castro, when he sees 32,000,
Sure.
that sort of is a red flag. So maybe you need to think, hey, you know what? They're probably going to ask about this. Maybe we should give a little backup on it.
Well, we always do, and I guess that's what the problem is that we had set at a previous meeting that each of the departments are supposed to submit their overtime, and we have a backup that actually goes along with this, and it's not attached to the report, and that's the problem here.
We'll provide you with a report on this for the next meeting.
Thank you. Okay.
And you're looking at the fire departments, now that we're talking about the public safety, it's very similar. Those are the biggest, almost the biggest month. September was the biggest month for the overtime. You look at August is just around 10,000, whereas September is 28,000 for the fire department, and then 33,000 for the month of September for the police department. And then in August, it's only 15,000, which is half. So I see the fluctuations that are...
Yeah, and sometimes there's a correlation on those. But again, sometimes it's very difficult until we look at the numbers. Okay. But certainly if you look at the fire department, I mean, kudos goes out to the fire chief in managing his department, you know, because as you can see, he's very below the budget numbers, and we haven't even brought on board our safer employees. So, you know, I'm looking forward to actually cutting that overtime quite a bit, Chief. So I'm really happy with the way that's moving forward. But you're right. I mean,
What you just said, if we had that written, that would put us at ease.
Right.
Coming from you.
And I would have to, at this point, put you at ease from the standpoint that says they will stay within budget. That's my responsibility.
That would also put us at ease.
Hi, good evening, Fire Chief Pete Mercado. One of the things that's very unique here is that there are 2 holidays in this reporting period, so that holiday pay is a premium pay for those that worked. And yeah, like Mr. Rodriguez said, the sooner we get those firefighters on board, the lower our overtime will be. I know just like in Chief Newjar's positions in his department, is that a lot of those are reimbursable. So although there is an expense right now, eventually that will show hopefully as a return once we do our quarterly billing for our grants. And so that number coming back into the city will actually balance out at the end of the year, hopefully. So yeah, the sooner we get our people on board, the better. So hopefully within the next month, we'll see our overtime decrease as well, but we definitely need to move forward with getting our positions on board. Operational period for our SAFER grant started September 20th. Firefighters aren't on board yet, so we haven't even begun to realize the savings as of yet.
And there are no holidays in October?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. Mayor, I'd like to, if there's no more questions.
I believe Mr. Gonzalez, he wants to ask something. Yes?
No, there's only two issues here. It's not confusing. Monitoring and to explain the cause and effect. You know, I don't have to go to Bangladesh to know if people are starving. I don't have to go to LA to see Skid Row if people die or alcoholics or whatever. I think the issue here is one of monitoring, like Mr. Rodriguez said, and also to explain the cause and effect. In contemplation, I've been here all of my life, basically, and I know Calexico is growing. Nevertheless, the fact of the matter remains, summer times are very slow. June, July, and August. However, when you look at November up to April, sure, we can see the and there's constraints. You got Christmas, the holidays, etc., etc. And not to mention the population of Mexicali. Now, I think they're underpaid, we need more cops, etc., etc. But I think in conclusion, there's only two issues you need to look at. Monitoring. When I was a senior analyst for the County of Imperial for 10 years, from 75 to 85, I had 19 departments, and the hardest departments that I had to supervise in one were elected officials, the sheriff, etc., etc. Nevertheless, we monitored them. If the budget said so much a month, the next month they got less. You can monitor it every week. You don't have to look at trends. You know, you're going to get lost. Too much analysis causes paralysis. You don't have to look at trends and make studies. You know, the bottom line is monitoring. You know, you know, how do you monitor? You can do it. You can do it daily. You can do, I'm not suggesting daily, but at least weekly. There's only 4 weeks a month. Monitor, and like the chief said, he doesn't have the backup. Well, he didn't have an answer also for the violation of the code. And many department heads do the same thing. There's no backup. When you look at reports that are submitted, it's up to the city manager, it seems to me, to ensure that the public is kept informed. How do we get informed? How do you as policymakers are going to make a pragmatic and logical and reasonable decision based on common sense if you don't have the data? In absence of that, no wonder we're confused. I don't know how to go. I've heard you guys since I've been here in January. I don't know. I'm confused. The reason you're confused is because you don't do your work. Study the agenda. The agenda is very, very limited. The city manager needs to get on his job and require that you have summaries on every report, like we used to do for the county. And they still do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez. Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Moreno.
If there is no further discussion, I'd like to make a motion to approve consent calendar item number 6.
Second. Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. Let's go for the vote. Motion carry, yeah, 5-0. Now we are going to start public hearing at 8:45. Item number 9, amend and adopt revised program income and use plan for CDBG home program. Mr. City Manager, can you?
This item comes to you in that the state of California requires that every 5 years we do a review of what's called our program reuse plan. And the monies that come into this particular program come from the administering of CDBG and home funded programs home programs or federal monies that are distributed to the state to be distributed out and administered by the local governments. And CDBGs are community development block grants that the state puts out and are administered by local governments. When these funds are distributed, then depending on what programs you have, in our case, we have a first-time homebuyer program and a housing rehabilitation program in which we make loans. And as those loans are being paid back, those funds go into the program income. And so in order to administer the program income, there is certain guidelines that we have to follow. And one of the guidelines is that every 5 years we have to review our plan and submit it to the state. The last time this plan was updated was 2004, so obviously we're due for that review, and that's why it's before you tonight. The plan has already been sent to the state, and the state has already approved this particular plan. So if tonight, the public hearing, after the close of the public hearing, you decide that you want to move forward with it, then the state has already approved it, and then we will actually start implementing this plan. Now, what is the difference in this plan versus the plan that we currently have on file? You'll see in your highlighted backup, there's certain things that we've changed, but I think the most important thing that we need to point out is that before, our current plan says that the program incomes will be used for two purposes. One is housing rehabilitation, and the other one is first-time homebuyer program. Upon reviewing the program and what our abilities were to utilize these funds, we decided to go ahead and recommend to you that rather than a 50-50 split between those two programs, that we put into play what's called a business assistance and micro business assistance program. And what that program will entail will be assisting the businesses either through consultation as to how they can grow their businesses, how they're having problems, how we can assist them, but also targeting on the microeconomic businesses, the smaller businesses that we want to incubate basically and bring them into play so that they obviously expand in the future. So one of the most important portions of the change in this plan is that we are allowing for 25% of the funds to go into that particular function so that we can help some of our businesses. The other changes are basically terminology and obviously with the play of this new particular proposal, the description of what that business component of it is going to be. And as you can tell by the title, it says business expansion, retention, business assistance, and micro assistance and revolving loan account. So the idea was to try to put into our plan something that we could also use to assist businesses rather than just doing all housing, try to figure out a way that we could assist businesses with this money to obviously try to motivate the expansion and creation of jobs. So that's the most important part of the change in this particular plan. And so tonight we're asking you to open the public hearing, take comments from the public, and then decide whether to approve this plan so we can move it up to the state.
Okay, any comments from the council members? Any questions? Any comment from the public? All those in favor? Favor? The public. Are someone against this item? Okay. Let's call for the vote. It's only a public hearing, right?
Yes, it's a public hearing, and you need to close your public hearing and then bring it back up to the council for action.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next item, business item.
No, we have to vote on this item, sir.
You have to close
the public hearing
and then get a motion from.
Okay, I'm gonna close at 8:50. We are gonna start with business item.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve
item number 9.
Item number 9, which is the amend and adopt the revised program for the CDBG.
Let's call for the vote.
Second that, please.
Second by Mr. Hodge.
Have a motion, second. Motion carried. 5-0. Next item, business item. Discussion and action, provide funding and sponsorship to Calexico Chamber of Commerce for marketing of City of Calexico via Measure H funds.
This item basically comes to you as it went to the Measure H committee, and it was put on here in anticipation of the Measure H committee's action. As you may or may not know, the Measure H committee took it upon, reviewed it, and voted 5-0 to recommend denial to the council. So that's why it's on your agenda.
Okay, any discussion from?
Hi, I'm Monica Ketchum, President of the Calexico Chamber of Commerce, and I'm here actually just to answer any questions that you may have about the proposal. One thing that I do want to mention is that although it was brought before the Measure H committee, in our documentation, as far as our letter dated September 1st, as well as our letter dated September 20th, and all of the backup information, we didn't request that the funds come out of Measure H. That is something that that the council, I assume, decided to look for those funds. So we weren't actually requesting funds from Measure H. We were requesting that the City Council sponsor the Chamber of Commerce and enter into a contract with the Chamber of Commerce for this year. We didn't specify where the funds should come from. What you have in your backup information is the 3 different priorities that we put forth to you. One would be becoming a Diamond Circle member of the Calexico Chamber of Commerce, and that includes several different benefits to the City of Calexico. The next was coming in as co-executive producer of the 21st Annual Mariachi Festival Sin Fronteras, and the third was a contract for advertising, promotion, business attraction and retention, and consumer affairs. And I can expand on what the benefits are to the city to accept and support any of those. We are hoping that the city will decide to go for all 3 of them, but we understand that you have your own priorities. And so we gave you 3 different options, and you can pick and choose. Hopefully you decide to support the chamber and continue our long relationship. We've had a relationship with the city, and we really want to continue working with the city in the years to come. And so I'm open to any questions that you may have.
Thank you. Any more comments? Questions? We have questions from
Mr. City Manager.
The item discusses only Measure H, doesn't it?
Well, again, the item was put on here in anticipation of the action by the Measure H committee. The subject matter has been at a committee of 2 of the council members. That's where it's at right now, and the committee, the 2 council members, was supposed to be making a recommendation to the council. I don't believe that recommendation has been formulated. Yes, no?
Who's represent the chamber from
the 2 representatives for the city are Mr. Hodge and Mr. Moreno.
We had met with members of the chamber and the city staff to discuss ways of funding the chamber because of the RDA being in the court system and not allowing monies from the RDA to be funneled to the chamber. I had a wild idea of seeing if Measure H, this would fall under an essential city service. It was brought to my attention that the chamber is in an emergency situation, in a crisis mode, if you will. If it doesn't get any funding, we may see it cease to exist. I've also learned that the chamber in the past has been funded by the bed and/or hospitality tax, which is generated by visitors or people that use the hotels. And that was its original sustenance back before the RDA. And then somehow or other, the RDA started funding the chamber up to $150,000 a year. Then that money started slowly dwindling to a little over 100 to 90, and now what they're asking is for 75,000. I'm under the impression that the balance of the council received a letter today from the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce analyzing other functions that the chamber provides to the city with regard to stolen checks, with regard to perhaps a type of a better consumer affairs or a better business bureau. I've had discussions with staff members, and maybe Measure H is not the place to get the money, but I felt it was a springboard for the staff, for us as a council, to look for ways to fund the chamber. If the chamber goes under, I'm sure that we will not see that the signature event for the city of Calexico, which is the mariachi, other than, in addition to all the other services the chamber provides. I don't have that letter with me that was sent by the executive director. It was emailed to me today. Did you receive it, Mr. Hodge? Maybe you can expound on it. Do you have it in front of you?
No, it's exactly, no, I don't. The areas of what they serve, the community also. Just letting us know that there are other vital areas that the chamber helps, especially in consumer affairs. Many business people take their complaints to the chamber, so that needs to be acknowledged that they do provide a vital service. But this is if I may continue to talk, this is okay, or did you want to say anything?
No, go ahead.
I don't know where the funding will come. I really don't think it should come from Measure H. I'm getting two different versions of what Measure H is meant for. That conversation has been going on for a while, but I want to hold up the integrity of Measure H, and I want to remember and expound on what was on that flyer. And it said for public safety and parks and recreations, and it's true, other items. But anyway, I respect the integrity of Measure H, so I don't want that money to be coming from Measure H. This issue for me is a delicate and ambivalent matter regarding the chamber. There is no doubt that this chamber, or any chamber, is a vital economic, social part of our city or any city in the valley. But I have had concerns for a while regarding the Chamber of Commerce, because I think their priorities have been misdirected somewhat. In my opinion, I believe that there has not been a sufficient priority towards business retention, marketing, and promotion. To me, that is the most important thing. In the last few months on this subcommittee, Councilman Moreno, when the Chamber submitted a proposed budget to the city, almost half of that budget was going to go allocated to the Mariachi Festival. Now, don't misunderstand me. The Mariachi Festival, I support that. I support the idea of the Chamber of Commerce being ambassadors for the city. All those areas are very important, but in these hard economic times, there has to be, I believe, a balance shift. However we're going to get the money, a greater priority, a greater emphasis on the Chamber being more proactive, aggressive in helping our small businesses. I want the city and the Chamber together in the future to collaborate on being more innovative, thinking out of the box to promote, retain, and market businesses in Calexico. And I hope we can do that. And maybe the Calexico Chamber of Commerce needs to be reborn again. But for me personally, I don't think we should take the money from Measure H. I don't know how we're going to advance this, but that's my statement, my opinion.
Any other comments from the council?
I remember that I read, I believe is it what Executive Director Carrillo emailed us today, was that The assistance that the chamber is asking of the city of Calexico at this time is a one-time only request, and that there's going to be a plan in effect on how the chamber's going to be managing their finances for next year, without the city involvement. Is there any details on that to understand?
Yes, we do. We are working towards a goal to become self-sufficient by June of 2012. We are looking at a lot of different avenues to generate more revenue. For a long time, we have been doing a lot of service to the community gratis, and so we haven't been charging different agencies that have used the Chamber of Commerce to do various things in our community, such as Farm Workers Breakfast, and so in the future, a lot of those services that we have been providing free of charge will be fee for service. We are also looking at other opportunities that are presenting themselves to rent out a portion of the chamber, the boardroom or other offices, in order to generate some more income, and of course looking for perhaps getting some grants and things like that. We're in a situation now where we were under the impression that we would be receiving some assistance from the city. We understood that it was going to be curtailed, and so we adjusted our budget accordingly. And we have used, in the past 3 months, since July 1st, we have used our reserve funds in order to cover expenses, and so we are, in a crisis situation now, but we are looking to move forward, and we are focused, Councilman Hodge, on doing things for the business community. In fact, this morning at 7:30 a.m., we were at the Chamber boardroom having a business roundtable for businesses in the community in conjunction with the Workforce Development Board, and we do hold various workshops and things for businesses. Of course, a lot of people see the special events that we do and the fact that we have often been called at the drop of a hat to put on luncheons or receptions for the city. For example, in the summer, we hosted and helped organize a luncheon for Senator Juan Vargas. And these things are things that the Chamber has done above and beyond what is expected of us and what has been in our contract. And so, yes, we do need to focus 110% on our membership, but at the same time, our focus is, on two things: on building business in Calexico and the Imperial Valley, holding up the small businesses, trying to find ways to generate revenue in our community, and more importantly, because it affects everyone, building a better community. So all the members of the board, we're volunteers. We volunteer not only as business people and members of various government agencies working full-time jobs, sometimes 2 full-time jobs, day in and day out. We volunteer as members of the board in order to support Calexico and build a better community. And most of the members of the board also serve on other boards and serve in other service organizations. So we are committed to the community, and if sometimes that, it is a thing that you notice more than our commitment to the business, then, we will work to change that.
Go ahead.
Members of the Council, Carlton Hargrave, and I'm First Vice President of the Chamber. I have some grave concerns, and some of the members of the Council, I really do not believe that some of us understand the functions of the Chamber. As far as being business retention and going out for businesses, the Chamber, on a regular basis, is the ambassador for the city. Businesses call the Chamber on a regular basis to get information about the city, about locating here, about workforce, about all the different economic questions that would come through an economic development arm also go before the chamber. In addition to that, the chamber also acts as the ambassadors in, again, the Mariachi Festival. You know, again, the chamber represents the city as far as the farm worker breakfast. There are many, many functions. And if the chamber were to cease to function, to cease to operate for any period of time, that would be a major black eye for the city of Calexico. I mean, the chamber is an integral part of the image of this city. And to see the chamber go down would be a disastrous, a grave mistake that the city would be making. So I urge you, and we understand very well, I mean, we all know the numbers. We're all in business. We all know that our numbers have diminished and that we are fighting for that dollar in every way we can. We know that there are not sufficient dollars in the city, and we've heard over and over again that we're operating in a negative, we're trying to cut services, we're trying to do all of these things. But I would beseech the council, I would urge the council, maybe not in this venue with a Measure H measure that's before the council tonight, but I would urge the council to really take a look at seeing how they can support this integral part of our city. Because believe me, if the chamber goes down, the city will definitely lose all the way around. So, you know, I would urge the council to look at it, look at what the chamber does, look at all the activities that they have, look at what they do economically for the city, and perhaps go back and see how it can be some type of allocation given to the chamber, even if it is not the Measure H funds that's being recommended. Thank you.
Oscar, let Louis Wong talk, and then after that, please.
Thank you, Mr. Gonzalez.
Oh, he first.
Okay, what?
That's okay.
Mayor's discretion.
My name is Louis Wong. My address 528 Imperial Avenue. I'm just a Chinese cook.
Okay.
Many people look at the chamber just an office, they answer phone call. But I have been working with Hildy in the past maybe, how long? 10, 15 years. I was the past president from the Chamber of Commerce, 2002, 2003. I see how she work. Last month, there's for one example, last month, there's a baby, one baby was dead, and Hildy raised some money to help them to take care of the funeral. This is just one of the example that is beyond her duty. And I worked with her when the beginning of the casino come, when the casino were planning to come. Hildy, me, and Victor Carrillo, we are the first three wanted to strongly support the casino. And look, the casino probably going to happen in the next 2 years. So I want everybody to look at me as a member, director from the Chamber of Commerce. And I did a lot of good things for this community, and so does the rest of our group. We have 18 of them, and 4 alternate. So I know funding is really tough. I just want our city council will find way to help out. Probably this is going to be the last time to help the chamber, and we try to make it our self-efficient. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senor Wong.
Yes.
Daniel Fitzgerald, I believe that.
Daniel Fitzgerald, yes, and I'm serving this year as the treasurer for the Chamber of Commerce. I wanted to be able to answer a couple of your questions that have been kind of discussed in terms of the chamber finances and basically some of the things that we're faced with implementing based upon our economic situation. Yes, we understand and we respect the decision of the Measure H Commission. They're tasked with a specific task of interpreting what that law is and what would be considered an essential city service, and that is their task and that is their job, as well as it is for the City Council. But as stated in our letter to the City Council, is we're requesting basically that the city become a member, one of the premier member for the Chamber of Commerce at the $30,000 level. And basically, this is what makes the Chamber be able to function, is our high-paying members, such as our Executive Circle members, which includes the Imperial Irrigation District. And this is the way in which we're able to then keep our chamber dues for small businesses, as Mr. Hodge talked about, the lowest here in the Imperial Valley for the major cities. That's where we're able to then be able to service businesses here locally, be able to provide them the assistance that they need. We're there for them. We're able to have longer hours if we had additional funds. Right now we're restricted to 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. only, Monday through Thursday. A lot of businesses wouldn't be able to come in at that time frame and be able to use the services that we have. But we've implemented these measures to be able to hopefully be able to make ends meet. And so the plan that we presented to you is specifically to become self-sufficient. We want to be. We're not looking for an allocation. We're not looking for something specific like that has been in the past. We're moving forward. That's all we can do. We can't look, the past is the past. We're moving forward. But the Chamber of Commerce is here to serve its members, to serve the business community of Calexico, to promote the community, and to help these businesses grow and thrive. And so our plan, this is our plan. Our plan is to come to the city and invite you to become our premier member. And you see the benefits laid out. To be able to be the co-producer of the Mariachi Festival, to keep this premier event going in Calexico, which brings visitors from throughout the region here into Calexico, staying in our hotels, eating in our restaurants, shopping in our stores, and really be able to show off the city. And also to have a contract to continue to provide these core services such as consumer affairs and public relations and economic development that was discussed earlier by Mr. Horton. And so these are the services, this is our plan. And so if we do not receive this funding, will there continue to be a chamber? We think so, but we are implementing severe austerity measures. I made the joke earlier today, we're Greece. And so that's our situation. We're Greece. All the debt crisis. So we have our problems. We've laid off most of our staff. We've continued to keep our executive director there, but our office hours are severely limited, and the types of services the chamber that you've known in the past would not continue to be. But we will continue. We will find a way as a board of directors to continue to serve our members, and as volunteers, we accept that. I mean, I was in there this morning writing checks to make sure that we continue to be able to function. And I know the other board members have all volunteered similar types of activities, and that's happening up and down the board of directors as well as throughout our members. So if you have any other questions about the finances, I'll answer what I can.
Any question from the?
I just want to know, I've seen what you have presented, and in order for there to be a bigger picture of information and understand the true numbers of what we're looking at, I haven't yet seen a financial income coming in, expenses coming out.
Well, again, as of right now, we don't have a contract. We don't have, the City of Calexico isn't even a member of the Chamber of Commerce at this point in time. I mean, our contract expired at the end of June. We're asking you to come on as a member, and so that's what we're looking for. I mean, in terms of our budget right now is up in the air. And so
or maybe even to understand what happened, like for the past, just to know where to be on board with you and understand where all this is going to, because I understand that you want to become self-sufficient, but in order to understand how we can help out and to understand your full picture, and for the transparency towards the public too, because I mean, we are in such trying times right now that in order for the city to find money somewhere, it's going to be a task. And in order to be able to do that, the full picture of the information that you have, to provide that to us so we could be on the same page with you and to be able to support you and to sell the idea of looking for that money in another area other than RDA as it's traditionally been. My other question would be is what did happen to it's TOT, isn't it? The TOT tax monies, what happened to that?
The TOT is money that goes into the general fund, and it's currently, then obviously the offset to that was that it's funded through the redevelopment agency. So it's not like there's this big old pot of money sitting there somewhere. It's being utilized by the general fund to provide vital city services.
Question.
May I answer the councilwoman's question? Yes, I mean, to be able to, that type of information is something that we look at obviously on a regular basis. But again, the Chamber of Commerce is an independent nonprofit organization. We are not a branch of the city. We're not within that, and we're not going to be laying open our books completely because, again, we are responsible to our members and our board of directors, and that's where our responsibility is. And that's why, and so what we're coming to the city to request is specifically is these are the things we are offering for these specific prices and these specific costs. When you look back at the contract, we had the contract previously with the city. There were specific deliverables, and those were items that we had to provide at the time when we were receiving the funds from the redevelopment agency, and that contract was in place. And so basically what we're looking at is, yes, there were expenditures, assuming that we would be getting some type of level of funding from the city of Calexico, either as a membership, as a contract allocation, et cetera, because those were the conversations that were ongoing. Then basically, to no fault of anybody's, the Supreme Court froze the redevelopment agency and basically restricted, severely restricted options. And we understand that. But we understand that there's a desire amongst our board of directors, amongst our membership, and of course we've heard that expressed from the city of Calexico, the Chamber of Commerce be independent, be self-sufficient from the city. And so as a bridge to that, that's what we are asking from the city of Calexico, to come in, be a premier member, have that permanent advisory seat on the board, where you can come in and you have access to all that information, be it in a closed session, be it in an open session, etc., to have that type of information. But to be very, very simple in terms of it, what happened in the past is, well, we had a budget based upon assuming we would be getting funds from the city, some type of funding. We didn't get that for a period of time, and we had to lay off a number of staff and basically change the way in which we do business.
Mr. City Manager. It could be just a matter of a different perspective here, but we are funding the chamber. We have funded the chamber, and I think I want to build a partnership with the chamber. And during our subcommittee meetings, we had listed some requests from the city on going to the chamber. Do you recall what were some of them? Because I think one was what Councilman Hurtado was pointing to, financial statements and so forth.
Right, I think there was, and maybe Mr. Moreno can help us out on this, but there was more disclosure on financial statements and presentations to the council and plan on self-sufficiency, and I don't recall the rest of them.
Well, I think we should have a meeting and revisit that. Let me get a clarification here. Item 10, is this to approve funding through Measure H? Item 10, sir?
Well, again, it was put in anticipation that Measure H was taking certain action. Unfortunately, we were hoping it'd be a different action, but it wasn't. So that's why it's before you. So that's why it's worded the way it is. If you will recall, again, there's two members from the council that are sitting on that subcommittee, and so that subcommittee, yourself and Mr. Moreno, were going to bring in a recommendation to the council. But I know Mr. Moreno was trying to find a way, obviously, to fund this where it wouldn't hit our general fund, and that's why I went to Measure H.
Okay, well then I think that we should say no to 10, specifically what the wording is, and on a short-time basis, find a way to fund the chamber, maybe up until January or so. But I would like for us to have a better understanding and agreement on part of the city and the chamber of if we're going to have a partnership, since there's funding coming from the city, what the city would like to see the chamber entertain and move forward on, and how we can help them, and also respect and listen to what the chamber. So to me it seems like we should have, as soon as possible, another meeting.
I guess the question is, I'm assuming that it's going to continue to run through the subcommittee, or is it coming back to the full council? Because obviously the council formed that subcommittee.
Well, I also would like to piggyback on Mr. Hodges' recommendation, or what he just said about now, but I have a question on the bed tax. And when is it collected? Is it monthly? Is it semi-annual? How very often is that collected?
I believe it's quarterly. Is that correct, Judy? Or would...
There is one or two that pay it monthly, but it's due no less than quarterly.
It's due no less. And on an average, how much is the revenue monthly from that tax?
You know, off the top of my head, I don't know, but it's definitely in excess of the $75,000 they're asking for. But, you know, again, the bed tax is used to support the general fund services.
It's in excess of $75,000?
Yes. It's over, I know it's over $100,000. Off the top of my head, I just can't remember.
And historically, why was that changed?
Because redevelopment started funding the chamber because the general fund needed general fund monies.
Right. And now, okay, so our options are minimal at this point. Mr. Hodge mentioned a good point to look up until January to support.
Mm-hmm. But we need to get together and find other ways of funding if that's possible.
Okay. Mayor?
Yes, sir. Oh, ask the mayor.
May I? Yes, we have a comments from Oscar Gonzalez, and after that, Mayor Pro Tem, you can talk about that.
You know, Mr. Moreno, you're going to be surprised what I want to say. Mr. And I think the chamber, I'm in favor of it. I read the backup. I was privy to the letter. Beautiful, you know, delightful, you know, the logo. Hey, I think as leaders, you guys have to do what's right. I support the chamber. When I was young, there was a lot of benefits. Glasses, my first pair of glasses, in 4th grade, Chamber of Commerce. Mr. Lopez, et cetera, you know, a lot of people. And there was other great chambers, independent of personalities that we may or may not like whoever's running it. The issue is to support the home team, right? The issue is not whether some of you don't understand what the chamber is all about. We know what the function. In 1975, Jack Ortega wanted to construct a Mexican-American chamber politically because the chamber was political and they didn't agree with the industrial park, and I was part of the industrial park. But be as it may, Mr. Moreno, you can tell Hildy that I'm supporting. This issue is discretionary. I mean, don't hide behind what Measure A is intended for. As policymakers, you have the discretionary to not only get money from Measure A or from support it. And even if they come next year and every year, support the chamber. I think the bottom line is it's not illegal. And if it is illegal, we have the attorney here, but it would only be her opinion. I would disagree with her if she said, I would disagree if she said, don't, you know, it's illegal to get money from Measure A. I would disagree because that's one opinion. So what I'm suggesting, Mr. Castro, Mr. Romero, and Mr. Hodge, and ma'am, support it. Come on, let's work together. Support the home team. Let's go forward. And let's not wait till January and say we can get it from something. Let's get it from Measure A. Come on, we got a lot of money there. You know, let's do it. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, please.
Well, for one point, Mr. Gonzalez, yes, the attorney is one point of view, but it's the legal point of view. One of the things is, for everybody to know, I also served as president of the chamber for a couple of years, and I do understand its role within the community. I've always said from day one is that the Chamber of Commerce is the ambassador to the city of Calexico. Always has been, and more than likely always will be. When anything happens in the city of Calexico, the chamber's called. Anything happens in Mexicali, the chamber's called. Anything happens in the valley, the chamber's called. One of the things that is happening here, and which somebody said a while ago, is that everybody's fighting for the same dollar. The city is also fighting for that dollar, and there's budget issues within the general fund that would make it very complex to try to figure out if, through the general fund, it could support it. Now, one of the things that was mentioned, and it's also been mentioned by myself, is that whatever funds are sought, which I believe right now the Chamber's in error, it's seeking to get funding for the full fiscal year. That's an error. You need funding now through January 2012. We have to wait, obviously, what's going to happen with redevelopment, if those funds are going to be available once again. I believe that the funding should be done through January 2012, and the Chamber again come before this council, or through Measure H, and see what else can be, how else it can support. Don't try to hit a home run with this one request. Everybody's fighting for the same dollar. I believe that you, the Chamber, should make, and I can't believe I'm going to say this, and I'm going to echo what Mr. Gonzalez just said. I believe that the Chamber should address the Measure H once again, because one of the things is that Mr. Councilman Hodge said a little while ago about the position of the Measure H committee. There was no way whatsoever that I would vote in favor when Measure H voted unanimously not to support the Chamber. This is something that each council member appointed these persons to oversee how these monies would be spent. And I think, in bottom right now, is that they've been doing a very commendable job. Redevelopment, as everybody knows, is not going to be available till January 2012 if it becomes available. Everybody knows that. But redevelopment has always been the source of revenues for the Chamber. Recent history, I mean, one of the things, when I was president of the Chamber, we came before that council, and we asked to be part of the formula, and I'm glad it was brought up again, regarding the TOT. So much money is being generated for the city. I didn't know if it was going to general fund or it was going to redevelopment, where it was going to. And at that time, we were stonewalled. The Chamber was stonewalled by the council and by City Hall. We couldn't get anywhere. Now, one of the things that the Chamber does, and it's been mentioned over and over again, that it does a lot of promotional events, which brings people from the outside to the city. What does it do? It also helps with sales in restaurants, services in restaurants, and retail and commercial. That is one of the reasons why then I supported it, and why now I would even support it, that there be some kind of a formula, if not a percentage, of whatever TOT comes in to the City of Calexico in the general fund, that amount be allocated to the Chamber, almost automatically, but obviously with expectations of certain services. This way, the Chamber will never have to come to the council again. It gets whatever the general fund, whatever the TOT is accumulated during the course of a fiscal period, whether that be a quarter, be it a year, whatever. But in a sense, it would also help the Chamber understand that it's not going to get any more $100,000 budget in the future. It may not even get a $75,000. It was mentioned that currently there's about $75,000 or $75,000 for the year.
No, it's in excess of 75,000.
Okay, it's in excess of $75,000. Whatever that amount is, the Chamber has to do some more legwork in how to get more members in. Now, it's been reported that the Chamber doesn't have a strong membership as far as quantity of businesses versus members. This is how one way that the Chamber can go out and try to generate more revenues. If the Chamber can convince Measure H to secure only what you need, not what you want, between now and January. Now, I don't know if that's 5,000, I don't know if that's 10,000, but definitely not these packages that you're offering right now. As you know, everybody is fighting for the same dollar. Right now, the chamber has to scale back, if it has to only offer what it can offer, not what it wants to offer. Now, once the redevelopment is back online, if it's able to offer any monies, then you can go back full throttle and see what you can do before the end of the fiscal year. But think of it right now as fiscal responsibility and not what you, as a chamber, would like to be able to do. Like, for example, Farm Workers Breakfast has been an icon in the city of Calexico for I don't know how many years. The Mariachi Festival, really, it's a relatively new event for the city. It's only been here for about 4 or 5 years.
I think more than that. But
how many?
18 years.
18 years?
Yeah. And I hate to interrupt you,
because it used to be an Imperial. It was brought here.
But I also want to remind you that it is the bare bones.
Yes. 75,000 is not the bare bones.
We met, and I believe, Mr. Rodriguez, they gave us...
It's the bare bones between now and January?
No, between now and 37.5 would be the bare bones, okay? But 75 would be for the year. Bare bones budget, if I'm not mistaken. But I didn't mean to interrupt you, sir.
Anyway, it's just, I had what I had to say. I am in support of the chamber getting some kind of funds. The only thing is, how is it going to happen?
Could it possibly, well, mention good thing on the bed tax, the TOT. I believe that's what you call it.
Yes, that's what it's called here.
And maybe a monthly allocation until we find out what RDA is going to do. I don't know if it can go back to Measure H at this point because of the crisis situation. I spoke to some of the members, and they say, after this week, it's going to be pretty hard to
keep it going.
To keep it going. Go ahead, have Ms. Aguilar talk.
Will you please?
Norma Aguilar, 839 Heber Avenue. In regards to the request made of Measure H, Measure H voted the way it did to send it back to council because we felt it was not under our purview. We felt this was a decision that needed to be made by the city, precisely because and I think I'm going to give a little mini background in regards to the ordinance. The ordinance was passed with the belief or the understanding or perception, choose whatever you will, that of the citizenship, that money is specifically allocated for safety, fire, and recreation, and along those lines. If you look at the language of the ordinance or how it was passed, the money goes into the general fund, which is why Measure H voted against it, because we felt that was a decision that if that was going to be done for that should be, and I think rightly so, under the auspices of the City Council and not a Measure H. So, as I'm not endorsing it, but that is, and I think that will continue to be an issue in regards to when expenses are wanting to be made that don't fulfill that perception. As of now, Measure H has made it a point to fund requests that fall within the spirit of that ordinance, but in the legality, it's under your area that you can make that choice and choose to fund it out of Measure H over the objection of the committee. I'm not endorsing that, or either one, but I'm just clarifying that. And that's why I came today. Thank you.
Thank you. I have a question, Mr. City Manager. What is your opinion or your recommendation on this issue?
I hate to tell you that it's a policy decision because you've heard that before, but it is a policy decision. I guess the only suggestion I can give you, and I gave it to one, maybe two council members, is if you decide to fund it, whatever you decide to fund, whatever that level is certainly up to you. My only recommendation would be if you decide to fund it, let's not try and make it more complicated. If you decide to fund whatever amount it is, we certainly are in a position to take it out of the reserves. Get it done, get it out of the way, if that's what your desire is.
Okay, thank you. City Attorney, can you explain to us, can the city of Calexico can use the Measure H money to help Chamber of Commerce in the legality issue? I mean,
Sure. The tax is a general tax, which means that it can be spent on anything that are general fund expenditures. So if the council finds that the chamber provides services that benefit the public, as you would be able to fund it out of your general fund, you can fund it out of Measure H. As the committee member mentioned, the perception of the community seems to be that it was specifically for, police, fire, recreation. Certainly, those are things that are in the general fund, and I just reviewed, the ballot language again as we were sitting here talking, and it explains that it's a general tax. So, obviously, the Citizens Oversight Committee was created so that it can provide recommendations and advice to the council about how citizens think the money should be spent, but that also was included in the ballot measure, and they're an advisory commission. So they've given you their advice. The council doesn't have to take that advice. This is a general tax, and the money that you use, it's, the general fund purposes. If it benefits the residents, if you believe it benefits the residents, you get to make that decision.
Thank you. Mr. Jung Kim.
Hi, my name is Jung Kim. I'm as a citizen that I speak. And also I'm having a little business in the price center for consider micro business. And I believe I tried to join the Chamber of Commerce about probably 2-3 times. And when I see the number of the fees, and they say, well, I only have 1 or 2 employees. Sometimes we self-employed employees, just me and my wife. Why I have to pay that much of the money? And I believe the minimum of the fees to the members is kind of like set away from the small business person. If the Chamber of Commerce might be adjusting to someone who's in the SWAMI people, they can be joined with a little amount of the money. Maybe one of the other way to Chamber of Commerce expand the service to the small business person and try to get the revenue. And also, I'm not the Chamber of Commerce, but Chamber of Commerce is part of the city. I believe it's not from the Major H, supposedly through the city supposed to provide the service in certain level to make them survive, and same time to try to help them to self-sustaining the Chamber of Commerce for the future. That's my opinion is city has to be certain level to provide the support to the Chamber of Commerce for the future self-sustaining. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kim. Mr. Willie Hermosillo.
Mr. Romero, real quick comment. I think, or I believe that Measure H can be recalled. If you start...
the Measure H can be recalled at any time.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure you knew that.
That's correct. Well, any other comments from the public? One more time, Mr. Gonzalez.
Since I'm already in the doghouse, I think I'll one more.
The general tax, I think that's the issue.
It is.
It is a general tax.
You have discretion, for example, on the taxi meter, if you get 3 more votes, you can bring it up. So
Take control.
I'm hoping that you guys take action tonight and vote to the chamber. Why not?
Okay. Yes, Chief.
Yes, but we have a general tax, but yet in the definition of the tax, it says that it's there for not just general purposes, but for vital city services. So that actually is a little bit more serious or a little more complicated than just having a general tax. And the other thing is remember when we sold this to the public, it was public safety, parks, and those vital services, not. And I have to tell you that I won't call it vital, but I have to tell you that the Chamber of Commerce does a heck of a job. I've worked with them on many situations, and they provide Cadillac service to the city, but it is not a vital service. And so I don't want to get into the matters of facts, but take me to task on the overtime. We have cut police officers from our budget. And so I don't know that we would want to say that we're going to fund the chamber over not having police service. So that is totally a policy decision, and I'm leaving that up to you.
May I ask one question?
Yes, go for it.
I guess the question would be right now regarding the way this item is placed here. If there's a vote today to support or not to support, it's contingent on the Measure H funds. So if this council were to try to come up with some other creative measure in approving funds for the chamber, it could not do so at this moment outside of the Measure A funds and bring it back to another council session. That's correct.
I believe the council could provide direction to, meet with chamber, come up with other ways, but I would recommend that we have an additional, the final decision over the funding source be put on a subsequent council meeting agenda.
If it's not going to tie into the Measure A.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
That's what I said.
So do you have any other question, Mr. Villas? Councilman Villas?
Well, I say this, I say no to 10 and take the recommendation that I've said, and I think just about everybody here said about finding other creative ways of funding. We do this as quickly as possible.
And we just have to be careful how creative we can squeeze the same dollar over and over again, right. Because as the fiscal year goes, this council is always asking the city manager, can you find some other monies? Mm-hmm. And you can't do that.
Well, this is we're taking it in stages, right? Councilman Moreno?
Yeah.
So we're saying up to January.
Well, I applaud the healthy discussion that was being brought up. I had felt that, like I said, a crisis situation. After listening to a lot of people and listening to the discussion by the council, by the public, general fund, I believe, would probably be the only viable allocation
outside of Measure H.
Outside of Measure H. And looking at the asking, the bare bones budget that they're asking for of $75,000 a year, which comes out approximately to $6,250 a month if we take it on a month-to-month basis. Right now, we're already in the 4th month of the fiscal year, which comes out to $25,000, if I'm not mistaken, if my math is correct. To find that money somewhere in the general fund, and from then go on a month-to-month basis to find out up until January if, in fact, we can then plug in the TOT revenue tax and take it, or redevelopment if it comes back. So if it were to come back in an item in 2 weeks to secure funding of, in this case, $25,000, which would be for the month of July, August, September, October, and then go through November with an allocation of $6,250, an allocation in December of $6,250, and then see and wait what happens either to redevelopment or the TOT. Does that make sense?
So
Yes.
is that your future agenda item? Because it cannot be voted on.
No, I know, that's my future agenda, if I can put that on there.
Right.
Well, it makes sense if there's a consensus with the council to do that, and that's why I was asking earlier, you have a subcommittee. If you want to have the subcommittee meet and bring that back as a recommendation, certainly we can do that. Or if you just want to say that's what you're going to do, bring it back at the next council
Subcommittee says that's
meeting.
what we should do now.
If I'm mistaken, Councilman Hodge, your motion was to dismiss this?
Right.
Well, let's just, if you can just say dismiss this.
Yes.
And then just open it up if there's another agenda item for the next meeting.
And, okay, and that would be my next agenda, is that okay? What do you think?
Because if it's not going to go through Measure H, we cannot make a decision today.
Right. But Measure H was a springboard to get discussion going, okay? And I think discussion has ensued. So I will second Mr. Hodges' motion.
But he has to amend his motion if he's going to amend it.
Okay, Mr. Hodges, go ahead and make your motion.
I'm going to make a motion, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to make a motion to dismiss business item number 10.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Let's go
You don't want
for...
to second it for discussion?
No.
I think we've exhausted discussion.
Ready?
I'll vote.
Okay, motion carried.
Now?
So am I to set up a meeting with subcommittee so that we can bring back a
It's
recommendation?
real simple.
We're the subcommittee.
It's real simple.
Yes.
All right. Fund them, okay. Fund them the 25K and then every month allocate them until we find out.
You still got to meet. That's a different decision.
Right, that's in the next meeting.
We'll set up the subcommittee
All right.
for you two.
Well, look, well, the future agenda item will be possible funding of the chamber through general fund. How's that?
Slash TOC.
Where he hasn't introduced future agenda items yet.
I know, but in the sake of time, Bill's missing his novella.
Is the next...
That sounds like that's going to be the item coming back from the subcommittee. So, yes, got it.
Okay, let's, okay, future agenda items. I'm going to start to my left. Councilman Bill Hash. Any future agenda items?
Yes.
Mayor, Mr. Mayor?
I'm sorry?
I believe that Monica, our president, wanted to say something else.
Sorry.
You want to say something, Monica?
Yeah, as far as the chamber goes, if this is going to be a future agenda item, then we need to have direction as to what we need to provide you and how soon it's going to be on the agenda, because again, we are in a crisis situation, so we're going to figure it out, but we do need to know what we need to do because we don't have our administrative assistant in the office, and so it's up to directors to get the information together.
Mr. Hodge and I will stay in contact. We'll set up a meeting,
Okay.
if that is okay with you, sometime later this week or early next week.
And just so that we give them plenty of time, is the subcommittee prepared to say that we also want the information that was requested?
Yes.
Okay, so there's one direction right there. We need the answers to that letter that was sent out, so that the subcommittee can then review and move forward.
Okay, is that clear? Are you okay, Monica? With that? Okay. Okay, future, I'm sorry?
No, they're not okay, but
He's laughing. Okay, again, future agenda items with Mr. Bill Hush.
2 items here, Mr. Mayor. Just a reminder on a proposal that I brought up, a request for a future agenda. The checklist for the city regarding the city's relationship or business relationship with potential developers and projects. Some kind of generic standard and procedures since practically time immemorial that we do, and when we're involved with developers and projects. Step 1, we ask for this. Step 2, they give us this. Step 3, they pay this, whatever it may be, so that we on both sides follow that, and we can all hold each other accountable for that. The other future agenda item is I'm requesting that the appropriate city staff, city managers, that we brainstorm, consider the city having periodically town center meetings Town hall, okay. Town hall, that's right, I'm thinking of some. Town hall, thank you. Town hall meetings, I think it's needed. We had some conversations today, for instance, regarding public works and roads, and what the people, they need to be informed, they need to know what's going on. We need to have a setting that's less formal, where an open forum where they can come and we can give them the respect and listen to what's on their minds, and also have an opportunity in a more detailed manner to let them know how hard we're working and what we're working on and where we're going. So I think it's a good idea. It builds a better relationship with our citizens. It increases our city's transparency. And I think as a history teacher, it's just, it's a practice, a good old historical practice of democratic practice. The town hall meetings. It's been around since the founding of this nation. That's it.
Thank you, Bill Hush. Councilman Moreno, do you have any future agenda?
Yes, there's a possible way to set a time limit on these meetings. No, I'm just kidding. I'd like to... I'd like to put the funding for the chamber on the next agenda, and I'll get with you and see and come up with a plan.
That's it?
That's it, sir.
Okay, Councilwoman Marisol Hurtado, future agenda items.
I don't have any agenda items, just a request, I believe, from the city manager is that when we do get to the point of repaving the streets, that we maybe advertise, did we do that maybe for Imperial Avenue?
Not that I recall, but some of the things, and certainly we've heard enough of this about the transparency issue, and I think it's legitimate. And so when we get to the point where we have the 5-year plan proposal, I think we should have a public hearing and invite the public to come in and discuss it.
Besides a public hearing, though, it's just to notify the residents of Calexico that certain streets will be closed down, since I'm not sure if they're all going to be done at the same time, or if you're going to have a schedule, is to let the community know that schedule so they're aware and they can make arrangements.
Right, correct.
That's all.
Mayor Pro Tem Romero.
Easy.
Discussion, it was something that with the agendas were done in a manner where it separated the general fund, enterprise, and redevelopment. Obviously, we have nothing redevelopment until January, but I still like to get those two funds separated in the agendas. Also, at the never mind. I was going to submit a request for a change in the resolution since the Heffernan Memorial is no longer referred to as a Heffernan Memorial Hospital District, it's referred to as a Heffernan Memorial Healthcare District. But it was something that will be passed through the JPA and then brought to you probably the first meeting in November. Thank you.
Okay, in my case, I would like to talk more about the business license fees for the next public council meeting. I believe there is, a year ago I asked for that issue, and we need to bring that item to public council meeting for the next council. So that's it. So we don't have do you have any comments, Mr.?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't catch what that item was.
I'm sorry?
What was that item? I didn't.
The item for my future agenda item? Business license fees. I like to bring that item back to.
Isn't that, I mean, we can bring it back, but isn't that an item that you've given to the Finance Advisory Committee? Isn't that an item that they're handling? And do you want to, at this point, bring it to council before they give their report?
Yes, yes, but also, we need to. I'm not agree on what the maximum study is right now. So I believe we need to talk to reduce a percentage from that business license, because I believe is the business license that the business are paying right now is too high. So that's That's my concern. So we need, I believe we are going to get information from Finance Department, right, Judy? And after that,
The fire fees that are assessed annually on the business license statement, those are fire fees. They're not business license fees. So I'm not sure if that's what you're really referring to.
Okay, that's a good point. One is that, yes, one is the business license fees, right?
Yes.
But also the fire department fees, that is too high. And I wanna address that because it is too high, the fines, and I believe we need to work on that.
Excuse me, but Mr. Mayor, excuse me, please forgive me, but I believe that in our meeting today, the Economic Development Commission is going to be bringing some information to us because they are doing that study. Isn't that correct, Eric?
Yeah, the EDC is handling
They're going to be doing that work for us.
There's two things that are going on. You have two committees that are reviewing things. Your Economic Development Commission is reviewing impact fees. Then you have your Finance Advisory Committee who's reviewing business license and fire fees. So again, the question becomes, do you want to bypass them and bring it up to council? Or you want them to do their work and bring it to you?
Well, in that case, we need to wait for that information.
Right.
Okay?
Right. And just to clarify, what we just heard is that I take notes. The Finance Advisory Committee indicated that the business license fee itself is not what they're looking at. They're actually looking at the user fee.
That is correct. They're looking at the user fees.
And then that the user fee then is what was shifted over to the Economic Development Commission to provide us a report for next meeting.
They're looking at the impact fees. The Economic Development
Well,
Commission
they're
is
looking at the impact fees and developer fees, but at the same time, what Mr. Hargrave indicated is that the Finance Advisory asked that the Economic Development Commission look at the user fees that's billed together with the business license. Is that correct? Okay.
Thank you.
For the business license fees.
Okay, I'll be corrected then.
Okay.
They're looking at impact fees and user fees. And that's what the EDC is looking at. And the Finance Advisory Committee is looking at business license and fire fees. And as far as your fire fee delinquency issue, I will be bringing that back to you, aside from the Finance Advisory Commission, because we spoke about this a while back. And I already gave you my tentative decision, and that is I'm going to be recommending that you provide a 5% penalty fee rather than what you have now to coincide with what your delinquency fee is for your business license.
Okay, thank you, City Manager. Meeting adjourned.